Talking with Topher is sponsored by slowdownclothing.bigcartel.com. Put in promo code TOPHER before you check out for an extra 10% off your entire purchase. More on that later. Let's get into episode 156. What is happening, TwT fans? It is March 30th, 2023, and I'm so glad to have you all back here with me. I got an amazing podcast. My guest today was awesome. Learned so much and just an amazing conversation. But before I get into any of that today, let's start out the way I always do by saying thank you. Thank you to all my subscribers. Thank you to the new subscribers. I greatly appreciate you as well. Don't forget to go and check out all the past guest episodes and go give a thumbs up, rate, review it, share it. I greatly appreciate you all for it. And if you're new to the podcast, remember to that subscribe button. That's right. Click it, smash it, stomp on it, but just do it, all right? It is free for you to do. This is not free for me to do, so go ahead and click that subscribe button. And, of course, if you want to get more involved with the podcast, yeah, that's right, you want an opportunity to tell your story. Maybe you heard something that was wrong and you want to correct me. Well, go ahead, send out an email, talkinwithtopher@gmail.com. That's talkinwithtopher@gmail.com. Go ahead and send that email over to the official email of the podcast. And of course, if you're going to send an audio or video, just make it under 60 seconds. And I greatly appreciate that. Again, that is talkinwithtopher@gmail.com. talkinwithtopher@gmail.com. And now the podcast is on Rumble. That's right. I'm on Rumble now, so you can go and check it out there. Everything seems to be porting over A-OK. There's a couple episodes that haven't made it yet. Not sure why. But you can also see the video on Spotify 3 days after the video goes up on YouTube. So we're going to have video everywhere. But you are always going to get the audio 12 hours before the video on Spotify. So I upgrade the Spotify about 3, 4, 5 days later, but you can always have the audio first. You can always go check out the video on Rumble. And, of course, always go to YouTube for every video out there. And the best way to get there is by clicking the link tree. Yeah, that's right. Click that link tree link. It's in the description below the video. It's going to give you access to everything TwT. So go and click that link tree. And now with all that out of the way, let's get into today's episode. It is so, I have had so many guests come on now, and it just keeps continuing, and it just keeps getting better and better. And, a lot of the things that we touch on in this podcast really, it was pretty incredible. It was really incredible. It showed me that I'm not alone in this journey of sobriety from my addiction. So, before I go any further or get this thing started, I just want to let everybody know I wanted to thank all of you one more time for an amazing 3 years. This is the last episode of the 3rd season, and Ashley Starr is a star in general. Not only does she do Spartans and Tough Mudders and I don't even know what she's doing. They're crazy races, running all over the place, doing obstacles, and just staying away from her addiction. So instead of me rambling on and on and on and on the way I always do, let's get into today's episode with my guest, Ashley Starr. Ashley, is there anything that you want to plug or promote before we get started?
No, just me.
You're just you?
I'm just me.
All right. Well, that's fantastic. So where we, I believe, first met each other was PMA Plastow.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yep.
Right? Because
Yep.
you were there, you were doing jujitsu, Muay Thai with, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. How am I drawing a blank on her name?
Deb.
Deb,
There
that's
you
right.
go.
Thank you. Oh my God, I am so sorry. Yeah.
We won't say nothing.
No, I mean, she's going to hear that. So, oh man, damn it. Anyways, so what has been going on with you? Like you've been doing a lot of stuff. So let me backtrack this a little bit in my brain. I'm kind of scrambled here.
Okay.
Where did you grow up?
All right. So originally I am from New England. And that's just my early childhood probably was not the greatest.
Yeah.
It was definitely
Bring that in a little bit. Trying to keep it about a fist away from your face. That's about right.
So for about like the first 7 years of my life, it was just my mom and I. And then she met my stepfather, who I consider my father. And they got married around this, like, it was like bing and boom. And then all of a sudden I had a stepbrother. And so we moved around a little bit while we're up here. And then after September 11th happened, I want to say like shortly after, a few months after, we ended up moving down to Georgia.
Wow.
Yeah. We were in Georgia for about 12 years. And then I was just like, the South isn't really for me. So I'm going to go back. So I moved back up here in 2013. Yeah. I want to say 2013.
Okay.
And from there, I kind of bounced around from just school to school, actually. So at first, I was like, all right, I came up here for a new change. Georgia wasn't really, to be fair, when I was in Georgia, started really unfortunately, my addiction. A lot happened during that time, from substance use to actually really bad depression, all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, this is not for me. I went from like one bad relationship to another bad relationship to, I wouldn't say like a toxic childhood, but the relationships just weren't really good in my life at that time. And I was like, I need something new. I need a change.
Okay.
So then I was just like, all right, that's it. Had enough. I ended up leaving a bad relationship, and I was just like, I need a new start. I need a fresh palette, fresh start, and all my family's up here. So I decided to come back. At that time, I had been talking like really heavily with my sister, who is very much of a big role model in my life. So my sister and I did not know each other growing up. Yeah, like one parent took one child, the other parent took another child, essentially what it boiled down to. And I think it was around, I was 6. Somebody's like, oh, you have a sister, by the way. And I was just like, what? So we found out about each other. We met each other a few times. And then she kind of just disappeared. And let's think MySpace real quick, because we ended up,
yeah.
So we ended up finding each other again, and like we fought to keep each other in our lives. So I ended up moving in with her, my biological father. When I first moved up here, I started school. I originally wanted to be a vet tech, to become a veterinarian, and then realized you can't take animals home with you. So I was like, okay, can't do that. And animals are like a really big soft spot for me. So it's like probably not the best field for me to go into. Then I decided, okay, well, everybody on my dad's side, which is is my stepfather, I consider him my dad, all nurses.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll go into being like a EMT to a paramedic, then to potentially a nurse. Why? Because I love adrenaline.
Okay.
So, and I like to be like quick on my toes and all that kind of stuff. So went to EMT school, and then realized I don't think it would be a good idea if I came to a scene with a child. And then I was just like, this is probably not for me either. And at that time, I was, heavily overweight, very depressed. I was a bartender at the time, so I was probably drinking, 6 to 7 nights a week.
Okay.
Easy. And I mean, that's a scene. So you don't think anything of it. So
Right.
you're drinking, and you're like, this is fun.
Well, if you're a bartender too, don't people buy the bartender shot sometimes? Is that a thing?
It can be a thing. Depends on the type of night. So like if it's your regulars, they won't. They'll probably just tip you a little bit more. But if it's like, say, like a thirsty Thursdays, and you have all these kids coming in, and have those hot shot guys just like, I'll buy you a drink, and you're okay,
yeah,
sure. But like when everything like closes down and you're like counting out and you're cleaning up, then you can start having your after shift drinks. So at that time, I was probably, my heaviest was 220.
Okay.
And then I was like size 15. I was in a very bad mental headspace. I hated myself. I hated the way I looked. I would just tear myself down mentally. Mm-hmm. And so my significant other, he has a friend, his childhood friend, because he was in a job that he hated, and he was talking to him one day, and how we were both kind of overweight at that time, and his friend was like, hey man, just come down to the gym. He goes, I don't know. And his response was like, just do it. So we ended up at a gym that he worked at, and we were there for a little while. And at that time, I was just like, all right, well, let me get a personal trainer, try to, better my life. But at that time, I was still in substance use. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't ready. I knew I had to make a change. I made steps, but at the same time, I wasn't fully ready. Yeah. So I got the personal trainer, and I was like, how am I going to lose all this weight? How am I going to, look good and XYZ? He's like, can't out train a bad diet. And I was like, well, don't tell me what I can and cannot eat. Yeah. So then I ended up in nutrition. At that time, because of my substance use, I'd actually gotten kicked out of a school. Oh. Because, I'd rather be drinking, skipping classes, and they're just like, listen, you failed 2 semesters in a row. You got to go. So I ended up at North Shore, where I took up nutrition dietetics, and I was there for 2 years, graduated, and then I actually got into Merrimack, and COVID hit, and I was like, oh crap. And that time was like my first little stint of sobriety. But during that time, I didn't want to admit that I had a problem. So I was like, I'll just get sober to give myself a break. Okay. That's essentially how our sick mind works, right? Just take a pause real quick, and that way if you get back to it, you can do whatever you got to do. Yep. Because you can control it, apparently. So COVID hit at the time, and I was just like, all right, it's my senior year of my undergrad program. And at that time, so not only now did I start working out, I actually got hired by the same place. And I was also a personal trainer at that time. Oh, wow. So I'm kind of just making these steps. I know that I want fitness in my life, but I'm still not putting the pieces together. Okay, yeah. So as a personal trainer, I'd realized that everybody that you work with punishes themselves with food. Oh, I can't eat this, or carbs are bad, and I can't have cake. And I was like, there's a lot more psychology behind how we actually mentally think about ourselves, as well as how we actually mentally think about food, or how we're ingesting food, or not looking at food as a punishment, but rather this is sustenance. This is how you live. Right. So COVID hit, sobriety. I was like, what am I going to do with all this free time? I decided, looking back, and I'm like, why would I do that? But I was just like, all right, let me get a other bachelor's in psychology. So about to graduate with 1 bachelor's in nutrition, and then I just kind of slumped in another bachelor's on top of it. So now I have nutrition and psychology, because they go hand in hand. Yeah, I know. Wow. I had so many mental breakdowns. I was like, what did I do with my life? Back to back studies, papers. It was just, oh my God, just thinking about it. It was, anyway, it was a year-round school. And then realized if you do anything psychology based, like it's cool that you have a bachelor's in psychology, but you can't really go further past that. You have to kind of get a master's level. So I ended up, where I'm at right now is my grad program for clinical mental health. And now I'm actually interning, but at the same place that I'm working at, which is a substance abuse facility.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at right now. And a lot of it, you know, I do see eating disorders that come through, very few and far between, but they do come through. It's just, yeah.
What is this facility that you're at?
So we treat all type of substance abuse, meaning
It's substance abuse mostly.
Yep.
So it's a rehab?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All
so
right.
we do detox and residential. It's kind of like a dual diagnosis because unfortunately, most of the time with substance abuse, there is a mental health aspect to it.
Always. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that. Yep.
So it's you know, that's what I'm finding is boiling down to. It's just we have very maladaptive coping skills. We don't know how to self-soothe.
No.
So we just go to the next best thing that's readily available and just take it.
Well, it's easy to do that too with all the advertisements, all the indulgence that they say, you know, you have a beer, you're going to be at the beach, you're going to be hanging out with friends. It's not the car accident with a dead person or this or that. It's never the bad thing. It's always this fun and joyful time, which can be true for some, but unfortunately for, I believe, most, it's not that good of a time. I know that I'm in the category that cannot drink a drop, or it's to the races I go.
Right.
But you were, so what happened to jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and stuff like that? We kind of
grad school
took over. Okay, so that's why we ended up not seeing you anymore. You were just into the studies and getting this stuff done, and you wanted to get your degrees. And put yourself in a better place.
Right. So grad school is always in the evening. So you work.
Oh, okay.
So Mondays and Wednesdays, when I used to go to JITS, is now filled in with classes.
Oh, okay. All right. Understood.
It's just too much on my plate, from work to school to internship to, you know, trying to maintain my house.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's just too much to balance at this point.
Yeah, it's a lot. It really is a lot. So when you end up dropping jiu-jitsu and you're putting all your studies into your schooling and you're getting your bachelor's and you're doing all this stuff, when did you start getting into the Spartans and the mutters and all these crazy what are those specifically called? Because I want to call them a race, but I know it's something more than that.
There's a race part of it, so it's obstacle course racing. So
Optical course. Okay, that's the word I can't find. Okay.
So I got into those in 2017, and again, ready for the story, is 2017 taxes came in. I knew that I did not want to spend all of my money on booze, because that's what I've done before. I was like, I'm going to then take it and put it into something physical.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that I had a problem, but like really didn't know I had a problem.
Okay.
So I got into it 2017, the first race I ever did that year. I want to say it wasn't the Savage. I don't know. It doesn't matter. So I did the Spartan that year, and I remember, I want to say it was in Rutland. It was like at a Boy Scout camp.
Okay.
It was raining. It was so cold. I was just like, what did I do? And I didn't do all the obstacles. I was freezing. It was raining. I was out of shape. I was miserable, but I was just like, no, I gotta push through.
Mm-hmm.
I made a commitment. I'm going to do this. And there was at some point, and it happens majority of the races, especially at Spartan Killington, that race will just choke the life out of you. But like halfway through a race, you're like, why did I do this? This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever done. I spent some amount of money just to get muddy, dirty, be miserable, be cold. This is terrible. You're just mad at yourself.
You're looking
doing
at
this.
it like a bad investment.
You're like, oh, this is dumb. Why would I do this? So, but you meet amazing people. You meet people from all different walks of life. I've seen people that had cerebral palsy. I've seen people in a wheelchair. I've seen, this past, I like cried a little bit at the starting line. I was like, why would you do that? Like right out the rip. So, military veterans came in, and they supported one veteran in particular. He was an older gentleman. I think it was blind, and he had a dog with him. I cried because like the guy was just like, and here we have a soldier, and he like kind of goes through like all of his beautiful achievements that he's done and how many people he's helped, and I'm like, this is too much. I'm not prepared. I'm just crying. I looked over at my sister, and she's like, don't look at me. And like, so like we're both like trying to like look at the sky, like we're not crying before the start of a race. But I digress. So the following year, I was like, all right, I'm going to do one better. I'm going to kind of train just a little bit. Still not as good. Start, adding more races into my year.
Okay.
So my race season typically starts in May and doesn't end until November. So I'm gearing up to be like, all right, it's about to be race season, so let's go. Mapped out all the races this year. 2019, I actually got Deb to do some races with me.
Okay.
Yeah. And then 2020 hit, no races. And then 2021 had a few, and then this past year I suckered my sister into doing it with me. But
really?
I did. She was not happy because I took her to Mount Killington. I was like, it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. Get your trifecta with me. I want to say it was like mile 7. I was like, come on. She goes, if you don't shut your pie hole with your positivity, I'm going to push you off this mountain. I was like, come on. And she like looked at me and I was like, oh, she's really going to punch me in the throat. I'm just going to sit here with her. The great thing about these races is that they push you right outside of your comfort zone. There is no ifs, ands, buts about it. Right out the comfort zone, you have to either, as I say, sugar off the pot. That's what it boils down to. Either you're going to let this race defeat you, or you're going to get to that starting line and push through, do what you can to get to that end. And I think Joe DeSantis said it in his book, Spartan Up, that you see people that will, make a commitment. I'm going to finish this race. Or you see people kind of get to that starting line and be like, I'm going to do the best I can. But if you get to that starting line and say, I'm going to finish this race, you're going to do the best that you can in that race.
I hear
so
you.
you have that like battle, because I call it my inner bitch voice. I tell her to shut up all the time. Like,
Yep.
Go sit in the corner. I'm still going to do it. And you just kind of push through. It's amazing. I definitely recommend it, especially for people who want to not be comfortable, because in comfort, you never change.
No, you don't not.
So I do it every single year. I find something like, yes, I do a lot of open waves because I just love meeting the people. I love helping the people, like being like, hey, you can do this. Let's keep pushing. But like each year I kind of add like a spin. Like last year I did the Smutty Nose. I did a half marathon.
Okay.
With no obstacles. And I was just like, this is completely out of my comfort zone. I've never run a half marathon before, let alone just run like 13 miles straight.
Oh, wow.
No obstacles. That was a mental, like, that was a lot to kind of, I think it was mile 7, my knee popped. And I was like, it's all right. Let's just keep going. And by the end of it, I thought my hamstrings were just going to snap.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was good. I did it. I got the medal. I pushed through. I did it. So this year, my goal is to actually do age group for Spartan.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what is the trifecta?
So the trifecta is you had the sprint, super, and the beast. And you have to do it in 1 year. So it's not that much.
Wow.
I swear.
Really?
So it's 3 races. It's not that much.
Okay.
Unfortunately, when I do the Beast, it's on Mount Killington, and Joe DeSena considers it his like backyard. People are just like, oh yeah, I totally go skiing down Mount Killington, and I'm like, yeah, cool. I hike it, and it's a miserable experience, but it's rewarding at the end. Like I said, this past year, I cried a few times because I didn't think I was going to do it. I started to get in my own way because we're capable of doing anything.
That's true.
Absolutely anything. The thing is, we prevent ourselves from getting there.
Right.
As soon as anybody hears no, or as soon as it gets hard,
Yes.
we're just like, all right, well, that was fun. Let me kind of go back to what I know. I refuse to stay in that box. So it's just like, no, just one more step. You can do this. I have a personal mantra. 1 is don't be a bitch. And then 2, like, I didn't come this far to only come this far. And I'll say that to myself, especially on Mount Killington, especially about 10 miles in, because you're up, down, up, down, up, down. There is no chill in that race. And I always feel bad for the people who are standing at the very top, and they're dressed and they're there for like support, and they're just cheering on their loved ones. They're like, yeah, you could do it. And all you can think of is like, shut up right now. Like, you don't know what I'm feeling. But like, if a fellow Spartan's up there and they're like, come on, you can do this. Like, I take that and I'm like, I can do this. They just did it. They're cheering me on. They know how difficult it is.
But the other people are they've just been standing there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Like, I was this past year, because I made my sister do it with me. There was a woman up there, and she's all dressed up, all bundled up, and she was saying, oh yeah, you guys got this, you can do it. And another girl's like, oh, I just love people like that. And my sister goes, well, I don't. And I'm like, we gotta go.
We gotta go.
Let's go. So it's just, it's definitely something that I try to do every single year. And it's just kind of to keep things in perspective for me, that I am capable of doing something if I put my mind to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like you replaced jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai with the racing and the trifecta kind of.
I was doing that while...
You were doing both?
I was doing both when I wasn't in grad school.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. All right. So you were doing all of it while you weren't in grad school, but when you went to grad school is when you finally left the PMA family.
Yeah.
And now you just do the racing thing.
Well, I do the training thing. So I'm that crazy person who'll wake up at 5:20 in the morning just to go to the gym, because in my line of work, by the end of the day, you're just drained. You've given everything that you can give, and so you just want to kind of go home and take that moment to refresh and kind of do it all over again. So I'm a crazy person who wakes up at 5:20 in the morning.
And you go to the gym?
I go to the gym.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to do more stuff with the gym. That I'm lacking on. I still have that inner bitch in me, and I'm just like, come on. I get up at 3:30 in the morning, but I'm usually where I need to be by 7, and the whole day gets going, you know what I mean? But I do need to get under those weights more often than I do. But I'm just like, well, I do jiu-jitsu 3 times a week, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that. And I'm like, yeah, but you can still, it's right there. You know what I mean? So I like hearing these type of things because it just kind of motivates me to push myself more.
Right.
You know, I think we all need to push ourselves more and more and more.
Yep.
It can get overwhelming, but at the same time, if you're not pushing yourself, then what could happen if you don't? What happens if you don't get out of that comfort zone? You know, that's one of the things I talk about on this podcast more than anything is getting out of that comfort zone, because you just go stagnant. Nothing positive is going to come out of it. It's just going to be the same old. Right. And if you don't push yourself out of it, it's just, man, it's so, you get depressed, you get upset, things are not going the way you want them to because you haven't changed anything. Right. You know, you can't expect things to be different, but keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's just never going to happen. Which is why I find your story to be so intriguing, is because, like, You were overweight. You were still doing jujitsu, Muay Thai. You're doing Spartan. You're upgrading your education. You're doing all this, and now you're. Actually, I don't know how long you've been. Like, are you not doing anything? Are you California sober? They like to call it.
Oh,
or
no.
So you're done. You don't do anything except for nicotine.
Except for nicotine.
Except for nicotine.
Though,
okay.
Listen, one thing at a time.
Oh no, I'm not blaming you. I started smoking when I was 9, and like like we were talking earlier before we got on the mics, but I got off of cigarettes a little over 9 years ago. Vaping for 9 years, and I just thought about it, and I'm like, well, I just traded one habit for another. I just traded one habit for another. Now, is it a better habit than the smoking? 100%, but it's still not a great habit to have.
Right.
And now I'm slowly getting onto the pouches. Nicotine is like one of the hardest drugs I've ever had to try. And I don't want to let go of nicotine personally, so I don't want to say that I'm letting go of it.
Yeah.
I just don't want the hand to mouth, the changing of the coils, the buying of the juice, the charging of the batteries. It's just so much, and it's like, why am I doing this still? When there's great alternatives to get nicotine, and you don't have to inhale anything. And nicotine in itself is a great drug. It's just it gets your neuros firing in your brain. It does all kinds of good things. And if you can get away from inhaling it and get on gum or patches or lozenges or these pouches, that's going to be the better way to take in the nicotine, is to just get tobacco out of the picture, period. But you don't have to have all the habits with it. And I think that's where a lot of us, including myself, have the biggest time kicking. It's like, oh man, I wake up in the morning, now instead of smoking that cigarette, now I've got my vape in my hand. And it's like, all right, well, now I'm almost done with vaping. I got probably another week or two.
Okay.
And then once that's out, now it's like I've been only vaping in my house.
Okay.
I stopped carrying it in the car. I stopped bringing it to class. I stopped bringing it to work. All this stuff, and just trying to get my brain to go, it's okay to let go of this. But I will tell you right now, it was way easier, even though it took me a lot of time and a lot of painful situations, but it was so much easier dropping alcohol than it was to get rid of nicotine. It's crazy.
Well, I tried no caffeine for me.
I drink 8 cups. I've been in and out of not rehabs, but MOP programs, AAs. I've done all of those things for 20 years. It's been awful ever since I was 20 until I finally kicked alcohol at 37. So it's been 6.5 years.
Awesome. Congrats, man.
Thank you so much. I told my wife the other day, I was like, did you know we just hit our 13th anniversary on St. Patrick's Day?
Oh, that's adorable.
I go, on the 14th was my 6.5 years. And she goes, you're still counting half a year? I go, I count every fucking day. Every day I count it. So, but I was like, did you know that half of our marriage, I was completely drunk and oblivious, and now the other half of the marriage, I've been completely sober. I go, so which one did you enjoy more? And she goes, well, the first half came with a trip to Cancun. Like, oh, what the? All right. I'll let you have that. But it's interesting how some drugs are much more difficult to get rid of than others. But being in all those programs, the number one thing that they would give us is coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Coffee. So I am so addicted to caffeine that I don't think I'll ever be able to get rid of it.
I tried. I was just like, all right, no more.
It's so hard. And I love my coffee, and I'm not going to get rid of it. So just like I'm not going to get rid of nicotine, but I'm going to eliminate the bad way that I've been taking it in for so long. And unfortunately for me, and like I say, it's not for everybody, but for most of us, I do believe that if I can't go back to a drink. I can never even have a sip of something because my
no.
brain will go into this automatic mode
Right.
where it'll
It
just
does.
pick
It
up
does.
where it
Yep.
leaves off.
Yep.
And then when that happens, I'm not capable of shutting that off.
Oh God.
So
no.
once it turns on, and being 6.5 years separated,
Yep.
my brain's going to go, ooh, we're in. And then
Yep.
my body's going to go, I can't handle this.
Right.
And then I die.
Right.
And that's
Yep.
what happens to a lot of people who
Yep.
relapse.
Yes.
Unfortunate.
It's yeah. So we, at least, you know, in the facility, that we always hope if somebody does relapse that they do come back,
Yes.
because then it gives them that other chance. But you're right. So there's this book called The Addictedaholic Deconstructed, and it's by Nicole Aber, and she breaks it down just simply just in the brain chemistry, just in the mind. You're right. In the sense of, no, I can never have one, because what it is that pathway in your brain is still there. So what we essentially do in substance is we just kind of, like, if we pull away from it, we just kind of put a police tape over that road that we're so used to, and we're just like, hey, we just can't go down that road. It's still there though.
It is.
And it's like the town in Pennsylvania with the coal mine still ablaze. The foundation's still there. The roads are still there. So say as the coal mine kind of goes out, and they're just like, yeah, you can go move back there. Everything is still there. So it's going to take less time to put a new town in.
Right.
And that is your substance abuse. And so what often people don't understand is that addicts, they are the most empathetic people you'll ever meet. They feel so much. They don't want to do what they're doing. There's a lot of remorse. There's a lot of shame. There's a lot of guilt. And in some of the stories that you hear, just like, oh, geez, like all they need is a hug.
Right.
But they just don't know how to get through certain emotions. And so society as a whole has looked at people who are in addiction, and they're just like, they're terrible people. And you hear all these stigmas, but and it's sad, because in reality is they just don't know how to navigate their own emotions.
Right.
Nobody's taught them how. Nobody's listened to them. And think about, like, what did you need when you were 6?
What did I need?
Yeah, what did you need when you were 6?
Probably just attention from my parents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a hug. I love you. Imagine just even at 6 years old, your own parents kind of turn their back.
Yeah. Okay.
And so from there, what do you have to do? You have to navigate. And there's a hierarchy within our life. And if basic needs aren't met, we don't know how to navigate. Nobody's teaching us. And so we do what we can to feel like in our brain remembers whatever feels good.
Yes.
So if we get like a sip of alcohol, like for me, for instance, alcohol was just the end of it. Opiates were my original love.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Opiates were like, I make a joke like I'm a trauma baby, and like I have really dry humor when it comes to like my personal trauma. Like if I do something like, that's my trauma, but it's a thing. Like I said, it didn't have the greatest childhood, and it kind of molded me to where opiates stopped my brain from like racing or thinking, and it kind of was like a breath of fresh air for me.
Okay. Wow.
And it just numbed everything. You just kind of went through life through a haze. Now, this is before fentanyl ever came on.
Okay, yeah.
And eventually I would have gone to heroin if somebody probably introduced it to me. I'd be like, okay, I'll try it. It was either like alcohol was like a part of it, because I mean, it was high school, but like I would actively seek out like, hey, you got any stuff? And I knew people.
Yep.
And at that time, it was kind of like a middleman. Unfortunately, we do crappy things, so I'd bring them people to buy their product. They would just give me whatever I wanted.
That was one of my favorite parts about like being involved with drugs in general.
Yep.
Was that you always wind up kind of being a dealer yourself.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
if you become the source,
Yep.
or part of the source,
Yep.
you start getting stuff for free.
Right.
And you can feed your own habits.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I've always gone down that road.
Yep.
Anything I was involved in, I would figure out how to get it,
Right.
and then be able to dish it out to somebody else, because if
Right.
I dished it out to somebody else, whatever that extra was mine for free.
Yep.
Or we would do trades.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you got ways to get what you want, and you got what someone else needs. So I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just the unfortunate part of addiction and drug use in general.
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's, I hate the word like manipulative. It's, I don't think, and like other people are just like, oh, that was totally like, you're manipulating me. Well, no, I was trying to get my needs met.
Yes.
I was effective and efficient in getting my needs met.
Right. Because that's what's important.
Right.
That's the important part.
Right.
If I wasn't drunk, I was having a bad day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was miserable. I was feeling emotions that I didn't want to feel. And unfortunately at that time, before, you know, like when pills got involved in my life, at just like it's behaviors, right? So I was cutting myself. I was self-harming during that time because I didn't have anybody to talk to. I had all these emotions. I was kind of taught to like just bottle it in.
Yep.
Don't say anything. Just kind of do it on your own. And I did, and I held it in. You know, at a young age, I, you know, was helping raise my brothers. Like, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely they're my pride and joy, and I love talking to them, and I love to see where they are now. But at a young age, it's probably something that you shouldn't have to navigate at 11.
Yeah, no, you should be an 11-year-old when you're 11. Yeah.
I didn't have that option.
Right. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that option.
Right.
You know, they got parents that checked out, or parents with addictions of themselves, so they're left raising their siblings at a very young age. It's a very actually unfortunate and common story today.
Yep. So I come from a military family.
Oh, okay.
So
your mom or your dad?
My dad.
Your dad.
Yep. Okay. And God bless him, because, you know, he helped me get out of, you know, the pills and the self-harm, because by the time he had come home, and unfortunately, if whoever was looking out for me wasn't looking out for me at that time, I should actually be dead.
Okay.
I would not be sitting across from you, because at that time I had already tried to end my life on 4 different occasions, because I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to express myself.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. If my brother didn't, like, he was 2, so as a 2-year-old, they open every stupid door that they can, because they're just like, what's in here? Like, you know what's in there. And he just looked at me, and he has these big baby blue eyes. He goes, "Sissy, what are you doing? How do you tell the 2-year-olds that you're about to end your life?"
Wow.
You can't.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Now, with opioid addiction and what was it Vicodin or Percocets for you? Or
Roxy's, Perks, Vicodin.
So just anyone that you could get your hand on. You didn't have a reaction to one over the other?
Oh God.
Because
not really.
For me personally, I didn't find a love for opiates. I did enjoy them for sure.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something I didn't like. How I felt like I could focus and be myself on alcohol. I felt like I lost all of that with opiates.
But I wanted to.
You wanted to?
I wanted to at that time, yeah. I just didn't want to be in my own body.
But like I couldn't take a Percocet because it wouldn't work like a Vicodin did. There was something with those pills. You're either one or the other, and only a certain amount of people can do both.
So I had a whole like baggie that I used to keep in my like school bag, and would
just munch on them
like throughout the day.
Do you even know how many pills you were up to at one point?
Yeah,
because I've heard of like people being up to like 20 to 30 pills a day.
I was like 10.
10.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was at 10. And at that time, well, I didn't go through a detox. It was miserable. I'll tell you that one right now, because you're just in your room. You're like, oh my God, I feel like death.
Everybody says that they feel like they're dying. It's over. But luckily, opiates coming off of them will not kill you.
Nope.
You're going to get really sick. Yep. It's going to get nasty.
Yes.
but
Yes.
you won't die from it
Yep.
like you do from alcohol or
Right.
benzos.
Correct. I actually had a patient, they were comparing themselves because they were an alcoholic, they weren't an addict, and the addict was on, the couch looking like death. And I go, let me tell you something really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
While that person looks like they're like dying on the couch, they're probably not going to experience, or they're not going to experience a potential seizure
Right.
coming off of alcohol. So you cannot compare.
Yeah. So I like you saying that, like, you almost were not sitting across from me. I've had multiple doctors
Right.
be like, how are you even sitting right now in front of me?
Yep.
Because of the amount that I was drinking, but I never got shakes.
Okay.
I never, yeah, I think that's the main thing. I would wake up and start drinking. I would drink all day, all night, didn't matter until I passed out. There was no going to sleep. It was just drink until you're done.
Yeah.
But I never woke up. I never got the shakes. I never got any of those things. I never had failure of organs or any of that. But the amount of liquor that I was drinking by the time that I stopped drinking was a handle and a half.
Yeah. I mean, you'll always hear yet. It's always a yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, what had kept me so long, it was because I switched to alcohol, right? So I was just like, oh, it's not my substance of choice. I'll be fine. But that's not the case. If I don't have access to one, I'm gonna find something else to alleviate whatever it is. And for me, alcohol was there. I lived in a college town,
That's easy to get alcohol in a college town. Yeah.
No problem. Like back in the day where we were drinking like jungle juice.
Jesus.
I
Okay.
I had to explain what jungle juice was the other day. I was like, remember Everclear? And they're just like, no. And I was like, well, good. Your insides were probably fine and they probably enjoyed you. My insides hate me because I drank Everclear out of a big cooler where everybody just put their hands in. It was cool.
It was a great way to get immune to any diseases for sure. For sure.
Oh my God. It's disgusting when you think about it. But, so my substance of choice is essentially, switch to alcohol. And, like I said, my sister is my role model in the fact that, she has over 5 years of sobriety. I've seen life throw like legal issues. She has 2 beautiful girls, my nieces. At some point, there was like kind of a cluster with that. And I would sit there in my righteousness to be like, well, I've never experienced any legal issues. I've never had any ultimatums so it was just me justifying further why I didn't have a problem.
Right.
As well as saying, well, I'm not drinking every day. I'm only drinking on the weekends. So I just kind of further and try to say why I could do it or say why it could continue. But the reality is, if I had one, I was getting sloshed.
Yeah.
That was it. That end game. I chased that devil. I chased that buzz, but I would overshoot it by like 10 miles. Like you're supposed to turn left like at like quarter of a mile, you're 10 miles past your destination. It was one was too many.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can agree with that 100% because like when I would try to keep my drinking under control because I can control this, right? We're going to try it for however many times I tried to do it.
Yeah.
And it's just like every time it would go from 0 to 1,000.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, I'm going to stop after this amount of drinks. I'm going to stop because if I stop, I'm going to be good and I can control it.
Yep.
And as soon as I got to that number, I'm like, well, that's not enough.
Right.
No. That can't be it can't be there yet. No, let's just keep going. Let's keep going.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just lose track.
Oh yeah.
And then I would black out and everybody would be like, do you remember? And I'd be like, no, I don't remember a thing. But then you'd have people that are mad. You got this, you got that. Oh, you did this. I wake up in jail cells. I mean, it was just an absolute nightmare.
Anxiety.
But I always told myself I can control my drinking.
Yep.
Everybody else around me can control their drinking. Yep. Why can't I?
Yep.
You know?
It's insane. But that's the disease of it. It's just it's it creeps in when you least expect it, because unfortunately, even though like whatever length of time that you have in recovery, it's that something's always going to go bump in the night.
Yes.
It's life will always happen. And I can tell you, I spoke it into existence. And so, you know, at that time I really didn't have faith in God. I didn't have like spirituality in the sense, and I spoke it into existence. And I unfortunately, my biggest fear was death.
Okay.
Like death of a loved one. Well, I experienced that into the sense of, you know, last year I got pregnant. And so that was just, you know, not a lot of people know. I only told a close knit of people that like, hey, we're expecting. And the only reason why I bring it up now is because I'm tired of women kind of being like hush hush about it.
Yeah.
Like miscarriages happen, like talk about it.
They happen all the time.
But nobody talks about it.
No, nobody does.
And it's sad because it's it's a terrible feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I will tell you, like, I can tell you everything that happened that morning. I could tell you what it was like in the doctor's office. And when screw that doctor, by the way, that doctor sucked. He had like no bedside manner. I was like, who is this guy? Like I'm sobbing, and he's just like, all right, well, have a good day. And I'm like,
you're like, what?
I was just like, are you kidding me right now? You want me to go into a room? Anyway.
Some doctors just, they have no bedside manner.
Oh my God. It was
all.
absolutely like, you know, he's sitting there like, what is happening? Anyway, so my first thought in that moment, go drink. There's a liquor store right next door. My second thought, people understand. My third thought, it will just be for today. Like, and you go through these thoughts at rapid speed, and you're just like, oh my God. And before you know it, when you go through something like that, you start reverting back to your old behaviors.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's easy too.
Oh my God.
It's so easy.
It didn't even take it. Like, before I knew it, I realized I wasn't really talking to people. I kind of like secluded myself into my house. So I was starting to fall back, like not say anything. And my sister, who knows me, you know, she would reach out every day. Hey, how are you doing? And she goes, and I do not want to hear, fine. You're not fine. You need to tell me what you're feeling.
Yeah.
So she was like, I'm going to stay on you this entire time. And so I had to go back a week later, and I was talking to her about it, and she goes, you know, is Sean going with you? And I was just like, no, I'm just going to go by myself. I'm sure it's going to be fine. She goes, no, you're going to pick me up at that day. I was like, no, you don't have to go. She's like, no, you're going to pick me up that day. And I'm glad she came.
Yeah, of course.
So, because
we all need support.
Well, at that time, I was just like, no, I'm totally good. I'm totally fine. But unfortunately, because of life experiences, I can disassociate, which is not healthy at all. But if it's such an explosive, like, reaction to something, I protect myself to be like, I don't feel nothing. But then I kind of start to feeling, and I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, why didn't I just deal with it then? So luckily, like, she knows me well enough to be like, I'm going to be there. I don't care what you had to say. And I'm happy she did, because again, same situation. The doctor sucked. Like, he's just like, here are your options. What are you going to do? And you're like, what? Like, I don't want to be here. Like, I don't want to be having this conversation with you.
Right.
And so luckily my sister was there to ask all the questions that
you weren't capable of asking.
Right. Like, I'm just staring out this window.
Yeah, you're basically shutting down.
I'm just shutting down. I'm staring out this window. I'm trying not to, like, I'm trying to breathe.
But that's your defense mechanism.
Right. And so when he was like, so which option do you want to take? Or what do you want to do? And I was just like, are you, like, really asking me this question right now? Like, are you serious? And I just remember staring at the stupid playset that was outside his window going, that's a stupid playset. Like, I just couldn't do it. So at that moment, I just wanted to drink so fucking bad.
Yeah.
So bad. And you go through grief so rapid in a state like that. And that stayed on my mind a lot. So luckily, I had amazing people in my life at that time, because, like I said, only sex, I want to say, like, a handful of people knew. And they were able to kind of keep me just a little bit more accountable. But my sister was like right there with me. Like, you are not trying to bypass this. We are going to address this. And I'm happy she did. It wasn't until like 2 weeks later, like it passed my father's birthday, and I got like a book, like a thing of flowers and a teddy bear, and the note was really cute, and the note said something along the lines of I'm not there, so you can hug the teddy bear in different place of me. And I was like, well, that's adorable. And then I realized, oh my God, I haven't talked to him in like 2 weeks. I call my dad like every other day about stupid stuff. So I just like disappeared, and I guess my dad like was just like, have you heard from Ashley? Like, is she okay? And so my mom was like, I don't know. She hasn't called. She hasn't reached out. No, nothing. So, yeah. Then I was just like, all right, let's kind of keep talking out. And I was in grad school, so of course, like, you're panicking. You're like, oh my God, what do we do? I have this internship lined up. It was kind of like such a roller coaster during that time.
It's not an easy thing to go through.
No.
And what they don't tell you is that this happens more than you think.
Yes. Yeah.
Unfortunately for me and my wife, it was the same.
Yeah.
We tried to have kids. We were trying to do that before we turned 35 so that it was safe for her.
Yep.
And so that we've both felt young enough and we both felt mature enough to also pull it off.
Right.
And then she did get pregnant. I think I was 35, she was 34. And unfortunately, she ended up having a miscarriage as well.
Yeah.
When we found out, it was exciting.
Yeah.
We told my mom, my dad, sisters, kept it really small because we weren't like too sure, but I was so excited that I wanted to say something.
Yeah.
And then it was like abruptly hit. She went, God, I don't know if I'm getting this right, but I think she went to a doctor's appointment or something like that, and then came home, and it was just, I think there was like spotting and stuff like that. Yep. And then, so she ended up going back, and they were like, oh, sorry, you had a miscarriage. I don't remember why I wasn't there. I definitely know that I was drinking at the time. And then, they were just like, I don't know if they didn't have any bedside manner, but they were like, don't worry about it. It'll pass. When you go to the bathroom, it's gonna make its way out, and
it'd be like a period.
Yeah,
so they told me. That was not that.
Like a heavy period or something like that. And I was like, okay. And then we were both looking at each other like, well, what do we feel? And I go, I don't know what to feel.
Yeah.
I was excited, but now I'm more confused than anything because I watch all walks of life do this. Like, it's the easiest thing on the planet, and you watch people that are so unappreciated.
Yeah.
They don't appreciate the fact that they have a child, or they don't want anything to do with that child, but you had a child.
Right.
And I look at them so differently now.
Yeah.
Like, it almost angers me in a sense.
I was mad.
You know what I mean? Because I'm like, how is it that you can and I can't?
Right.
And we were trying, and you weren't, and you don't even appreciate what you have.
Right.
And I used to get really angry about it. And those are the wrong feelings to have, though, I believe, truthfully, deep down inside of me, is that I'm not going to be happy for them because they're still kind of being douchey about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're still abusing drugs, or they're still not in that child's life, and or they left the other person and just dumped the baby on them. There are some people that had kids and they turned their lives around, and those are the people I associate with today. But, I used to get so angry and just fired up about it, and it would cause me to fall into that. I'd rip down that tape, as you say, that caution tape. I'd rip that down, and I would just be like, fuck all of it. And I think that's why it took an extra 2 years of me trying to control it again, to to finally realize that, yeah, we don't have a kid. It's not going to happen. It's just not in the cards,
Okay.
you know, because we're both over 40 now.
Okay.
So it's very dangerous for
Yep.
her. And
Yep.
because of that main reason, I'm just like, if it happens, it happens. I've
Yeah.
heard of older people
Yeah.
having kids, not
Yeah.
having complications,
Right.
but it just doesn't seem like it's on the plate for us.
No.
So we had to come to realization that this is just not going to, it's not for us.
Okay.
And it happened.
Yeah.
And but when I finally decided to get rid of alcohol, I had to realize that, hey, this just wasn't for you. It's not going to happen.
Right.
You have to accept this and
Right.
move on with
Right.
your life. And then at the same time, I was Ubering,
Okay.
and I was also getting back into my old habits where, you know, I was drinking and driving, but now
Yep.
I'm drinking and Ubering. So what I
Yep.
did was I was like, I used to do Boston in the morning,
Okay.
and I would travel and I would do all this Ubering in the morning.
Right.
And then I was like, you know what? Boston is fucking nuts in the morning.
Oh, yeah. God
Nuts.
bless you.
It's crazy.
God
I was like, let's try the afternoon. Let's do some overnights. And then I started picking up drunk people.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, well, no one's going to fucking know. So this
Yeah.
is so easy for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So I would just go down there. I would start at like 5.
Yeah.
By 10 o'clock, I was like, all right, 10 o'clock shows up, we can have a nip.
Yep.
And then every hour after that, we can have another one because everybody you're picking up is fucking hammered.
They'll never know.
I mean, I had people piss in my car, all kinds of just. There was almost puking at one point. There was a fight at another point. I mean, it was crazy. It was like, as I started getting towards the 500 rides, it was like my clientele was insane. And this is all before lockdowns and any of this shit. So it's it's just normal right now.
Yep.
And I ended up driving through Southie. I picked someone up, and I accidentally went through a red light, and there was a cop right there. And so now it's 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
I have a passenger.
Yep.
I'm already 2 nips in, maybe 3 at this point because I would cheat.
Oh.
And then cop comes out. He's asking me all the questions. I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I go, okay, so, and you know, I give him he comes back and he's like, all right, why don't you have a good night? And I'm going to let you off with a warning right now. There was nobody around, luckily, you know, and I was like, okay. And I apologized to my passenger, and I drove her to a destination.
Yep.
I friggin' got out of the app. I had a couple nips left in the glove box.
Yep.
I drove from Boston back here.
Yep.
Came into my kitchen, grabbed everything out of my car because I was a closet drinker as well.
Yep.
So like I was always quitting. I was always trying to stop.
Yeah.
So I literally had to go around to my basement, my closets, cabinets, went everywhere, put everything on the countertop, and I literally drank everything that night that was in the house.
Yep.
And I never touched it again.
It's the worst when you have to like put your hand in the trash to like hide the booze. Like that's when you know, like you're like, oh man.
So it's
I'll do it.
did it ever cause me to lose a job? Did it ever cause me like major like financial issues? Only by losing my license. You know what I mean? So like I also never really saw it as a problem.
Right.
Because like I was still going to work. I was still doing this. I was still doing that.
Right.
But I would, you know, lose friends.
Right.
I would disappoint people. I would lose my license all the time.
Yep.
And it took up until the cop telling me that I'm going to let you go to realize that, dude, you've got a serious fucking issue.
Right.
How many times are you going to lose your license before you realize that losing your license means you lose everything?
Yeah.
We live in New Hampshire. You ain't getting anywhere without a license.
No.
We don't have, like, in the city, yeah, sure, we got public transportation, stuff like that, but who works where you live most of the time? You know what I mean? Like, I live in Manchester, I work in Derry. But my job now asks of me to go to Amherst, Nashua, Concord, Epping.
Right.
Like I'm all over the place now.
Right.
And then when I was about to lose my license, I believe I was at New Hampshire Vape Gallery.
Okay.
I'm living in Manchester, driving to Seabrook.
Oh, geez.
So,
Okay.
well, I was Ubering at the time. And when I stopped Ubering, then I went to New Hampshire Vape Gallery.
Okay.
But how am I going to make a living without a license, right? I'm Ubering.
Right.
So I'm not, you know what I mean? So
Yep.
you always need it when you live
Yep.
in New England. And no, you can go to like San Francisco and live without a license. You can also go to like New York and you can do those things.
Yeah.
But it's much harder in these rural areas that are a lot more spread out. I mean, just to walk to a store from my house would take me almost 25 minutes.
Okay.
Where it's a 6-minute car ride.
I mean, I lived in Georgia, so like the closest gas station to me where I lived was like 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, sounds typical.
Right. And but trying to do that without a license or any way to get around. I mean, and in New Hampshire, I don't know if this is still true today.
Yeah.
But they did not have at the time a way to keep your license to go to work.
Oh, the Cinderella?
Yeah, is that what it's called? Cinderella license.
Yeah.
So Massachusetts has that. They've had it for quite some time, but I don't know if New Hampshire has that or not anymore.
I think they do, because I know somebody in the process of trying to get their license back, and it's a cluster. So what I'm finding, and I kind of get pretty frustrated with the court system and the legal system, because of when they handle any type of addict, what they do, I'll just put them in jail, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. You don't give them like support or counseling or nothing like that. You just throw them in jail, and so when they come out, what are they going to go back to?
They go right back to their old habits. Yeah,
it's what they know. So you're not teaching them anything.
No, and the only reason I can highly and absolutely agree with you on that is because when I got my, they attempted to give me a second DUE, but I was nowhere near the car. I didn't have the keys on me. I gave it to a passenger. I was the one driving. They did.
Right.
I was a douchebag, right?
Okay.
I'm completely drunk. I'm driving around. I put the car in the snowbank, blew the transmission, and then I got out of the car because I was like pretty close to my house when I was living in Derry.
Right.
And I said, here, you hold on to the keys, stay here. I'm going to go walk to my house with this person.
Right.
And somebody had passed us, saw it, called the cops. So as I'm like 150 feet away from the car, the cops are like pulling up. They're talking to the people by the car. And then another 2 cops come up to where I am and the other person. And they're like, you're under arrest for driving while intoxicated. I'm like, driving while intoxicated? I'm nowhere near the car. What are we talking about here? So I thought I was slick. Of course. That's what alcohol does. It makes you think that you're smart, and you're really not. So all this is happening, and now I'm fighting this cop.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, there's 2 more cops. So it took 3 of them to pile drive me into the ground with a billy club and the whole 9.
Oh my God.
And so because of all of that, when I went to court, I felt like I was on top of the world. You ain't got shit on me. No way. I'm going to win this. And they didn't get me on the DUI, but they got me on resisting.
Yep.
And when they got me on resisting, they put me away for 30 days.
Yep.
And so I went to Brentwood for 30 days. And then when I got out, it did not take more than 5 days to get right back into the swing of things. So I got myself up to like 145 pounds from 125.
Okay.
I was super pumped about it.
Yep.
And within 2 weeks, I was back down to 125. I was drunk all the time, and I was just doing shitty, stupid stuff all over again. Yeah.
It's you're not really, you're not learning anything. You're just, and that's the unfortunate thing. And it's just like, well, what can we do? Well, a lot of substance abuse or anything like that, it has that mental health aspect to it. And it's they're like, oh, it's a drinking and drug problem. No, it's a thinking problem.
Yes.
It's at the end of the day, like, how am I sitting with myself? And do I have a good relationship with myself? And well, now I do, but back then I did not.
Right.
In these past, like, close to 2 years. I don't know. It's something like that. I had learned the relationship that I had with myself was not good.
Okay.
And so I had to really work to repair that. And so all that weight loss we were talking about, or all those fitness goals that I was talking about, and all the Spartan races, those weren't the best because I did not have a good relationship with myself. And, I mentioned it earlier, people were looking at food as a punishment. I was those people. So I had to, I had to do a lot of internal work because it did boil down to that. I would look in the mirror and say you're a fat piece of shit, or you're gross, or you're ugly, or look at that, nobody would want you. And then I'd try to starve myself, or I would just overeat and it just wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
Instead of kind of looking at myself and be like, wow, look at what you've done, or look at the races you've done. You're changing just even that positive shift to your mind.
Right. Hey, can we take a quick break?
Yeah.
We're gonna. I gotta go to the bathroom.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that.
yeah. Sorry. It is spring, and you know what that means. It is time to start thinking warm, sunshine, getting outside, and showing off all that new clothing you're gonna get at slowdownclothing.bigcartel.com. That's slowdownclothing.bigcartel.com. Not sure how to spell it. It's right here at the bottom of the screen, or you can click the link in the description below the video. And before you check out, put in promo code TOPHER. You're going to get an extra 10% off that entire purchase. All right. There is so much new stuff at Slow Down Clothing, and they have so much to offer you. They've got skateboards and all kinds of t-shirts and shorts for the kids. They've got swim shorts for you. They've got leggings for your girlfriend or your wife or your friends. They have so much to offer. And the brand new Snake and Coil hats, shirts, the whole entire line. Go get that brand new kit. It is so amazing. And I love the high quality products at a great price. When everything is moving so fast in the world, don't you think it's time to just slow down? So go to slowdownclothing.bigcartel.com today. And if you're not sure how to spell it, it's right here at the bottom of the screen, or you can click the link in the description below the video. And before you check out, remember to put in promo code TOPHER for an extra 10% off that entire purchase. All right, well, we're back. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, too much coffee, too much water. But as you were touching on, you would talk to yourself in those types of ways.
Yep.
So you said it's been about 2 years now for you?
Yeah, September. So what, year and a half, 18 months?
Oh, September what?
It's September 11th, actually.
Get out of here. Really?
Yeah.
Mine is September 14th,
Yeah,
which is also my goddaughter's birthday.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
so before you actually, let me see here. When did you actually realize that you had the problem and you had to stop it? Was it like something like that happened to me, or did you have your own epiphany, or what happened? What caused you to finally toss it to the side?
Be like, this isn't good. So I single-handedly pretty much destroyed the one person. I was just like, this is the person that is going to be my ride or die, and I hurt him.
Okay.
Beyond repair. And luckily, we've worked past it. It was a lot. And at that time, the messed up thing is that I quit a month later. I was like, look, I am sober. I can't do it. But the reality was I needed him to love me because I was unable to do so for myself.
Okay.
And so at that time, I was just like, oh my God, I'm doing, I'm not drinking. Why isn't he getting over this? But I needed to do it for me.
That's the addict brain. Right.
Yes.
There is
that.
Yeah. And I don't want to step on you too much right now, but I do want to put out the message that a lot of people go through this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people deal with the simple fact that they are trying to better themselves.
Yeah.
But the problem that we have as addicts is that It's done. I did it.
Right.
So
right.
what the
right.
fuck's wrong with you? And it's
Yeah.
like, no, you don't understand.
Yep.
You can apologize to everybody that
Yep.
you wronged.
Yep.
What you need to accept as the addict, and I needed to
Yep.
accept myself, is that they don't have to accept your apology.
No.
That's
no.
their right.
Right.
And
Right.
you have to be okay with
Yep.
them not accepting your
Yeah.
your apology.
Yep.
But that's the problem with the addict
Right.
is I fucking apologize.
Right. Right.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
This isn't over? It's not done?
You don't forgive me?
We can't. What? It was only a year and a half I tortured you.
I know. It was.
But it's good now.
Yeah.
It's good now. It's been 4 weeks. We're good.
We're fine.
So
I'm sober.
I like to get that message out
Yeah.
there because I feel like a lot of people don't
Yep.
realize
No.
that you're going to, even in your sobriety, you're going to run into so many different walls.
Yep.
And the only thing I can always tell everybody is that even if you hit the wall, don't let the wall set you back.
No. Don't.
Just you'll get over it.
Right.
You'll get through it. The person is either going to get over it or get through it. You have to be patient.
You do. And one of the big things is you have to forgive yourself.
Yes.
And that's the hardest thing the thing is I needed, you to love me. I needed you to forgive me because I was incapable of doing those with myself.
Right.
And so when I had that shift in mind and again, I got to chalk it up to my sister. Like she's been through this entire process with me and she goes, yeah, you fucked up. You fucked up big, but does not mean that you're a shitty person.
Right.
And you can change. And like, she was the one in the very beginning, like, let's go to the gym every day. We worked, let's go. Let's go do this. Like she kept on pushing me, and like giving me words of encouragement, even though I wasn't able to give them to myself because, she loved me during that time when I was unable to do so. And she uplifted me during that time to keep pushing me forward. And I'm very grateful for her. I can't even express that enough. And like, even right now, like we're thick as thieves. Like at the end of the day, like if I have something that like I need to go hide a body, I'll be like, hey, I fucked up. I need your help real quick. And like, she'd be there. And it dawned on me, like, I want to say 8 months into my sobriety. I was talking to Sean. I was just like, yeah, I can't drink. I'm an alcoholic. And his response was, we've never talked about it. He goes, but you're right.
Huh.
Yeah. Never talked about it. I just did it. I started improving myself. I started improving like where I was going, and I said it, and he was just like, we never talked.
Wow.
But you're right. And I'm happy that you're realizing this. He's always been kind of that person, like that calm voice in my life, because at that time, like I want to say the first like 8 years I was drunk. Right? So my favorite pastime was to like wake him up at 3 o'clock in the morning, really like messed up, to be like, we're gonna argue about something that makes no sense, and then like had to wake up the next day to be like, that didn't happen. It was just just thinking
hey,
about it.
Man, that is so familiar. God, it's like yesterday for me.
It's like one of those things where you're just like, oh my God,
it's so crazy how we do those things, and why we do them. I don't think we'll ever understand. It's just.
It's what we knew. It was normal for us. It's not normal for another person. They're just like, what is wrong with you? But it was normal. That's how I lived my life in like chaos. To put it plainly, it was just chaos, and that's where I thrived because that's all I knew. So it was just kind of that shift that like, okay, well, he's clearly not going to forgive me, and my sister, was for like, yeah, you fucked up, but you got to keep moving forward. Like, doesn't make you who you're going to be in the future.
Nope.
It's a past.
Yes.
Can't do nothing about it. It's there. And, as an addict, we want what we want. We want it now.
Yep.
We have to have it. And it took a long time for me to kind of work past that.
Yeah.
And now, like, we're good. We're fine. And in all honesty, like, I love the relationship I have with myself now.
No, that's awesome.
And like you said, that person doesn't have to forgive me.
No.
They don't. And that's okay. That's okay. I just have to learn how to forgive myself in that moment.
Yeah.
Some bridges will be burnt, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, they will.
And they'll never be repaired. And that's okay as well. And I think as an addict, we just have a hard time kind of being okay with it.
Yeah. No, I can't disagree with anything you're saying. It's like, yeah, talking to myself. It really is.
Weird, yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. It's insane.
Yep.
It was so hard for me to accept that people were not going to accept my apology. It was so hard for me because I was like, I don't understand what I did it. You know, even when I was in my earliest time, just like the first 6 months, you know, I was spouting off how alcohol should be illegal and nobody should drink and this and that. And why don't you feel as good as I do right now? And then
the pink
6.5 years in, I'm like, no, I just have to deal with my own shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about what other people can and can't do.
No.
You know, I would be so mad if marijuana was still illegal because that's the only thing that I've never gotten in trouble with. It's never caused a problem in my life. I enjoy it. It helps me calm down. It allows me to be creative. It does all kinds of things for me. But what I've learned in my sobriety from alcohol is that I don't always need it. I don't need to be this way all the time. So I changed the way I smoke and the way I do things, and leaving New Hampshire Vape Gallery made that easier for me, you know, because when you're locked in a box all by yourself, just dealing with people all day, you tend to allow yourself to drift and get high and do all these other things because it's not that hard to sell somebody a vape and bring them out. You know what I mean? But now, today, it's totally different. Now I get all my work done. I do everything I have to. You know, recording podcasts, going to jiu-jitsu, all of that's done 100% sober. And it's not until like the end of the night where I'm like, okay, we're just going to sit and watch TV now. Cool. I'll smoke a joint. Let's do that. Let's enjoy ourselves. Let's have some fun. You know, I was never at a point in my life where marijuana caused like this huge ruckus in my life. And I understand that is not the same for everybody. Some people are highly addicted to marijuana and they have a struggle with it like I did with alcohol or maybe like you did with opiates. So everybody's on a different playing field. Not everything is for everyone. That's like diets, doctors, medications. I mean, you can go down the list of everything on this planet. Not one person is going to react the exact same way as another. It's always different.
Right.
But so learning all of that is probably the most difficult thing that I had to learn. And I have to say that it took me almost 2 to 3 years before I started finally becoming a little bit more comfortable with myself. I have a real hard time with it. I still have a really hard time with compliments. I don't like them. I hate them. I'm like, I don't even know what you're saying to me right now. This makes no sense. I did a good job. What? Like little things like that, you know, and it's like, I've gotten a ton of support from everybody who's been on this podcast and people in class that just listen and just everybody's like, man, you're doing such a great job. You're doing great things for other people. And when I hear that, I cringe. I cringe. I'm like, ew, don't. I don't like that. It feels weird, but I think that's because I spent 27 years being called a piece of shit. Being a bad person. You're not going to go anywhere. Why do you keep doing this stupid shit? Why? Why? And that got comfortable. That got easy to deal with. I could deal with negativity all day. And as soon as it turns into positive, I'm like, ew, what is this? I don't know how to deal with this. What do you mean I'm doing a good job?
I get that.
Right? Isn't it weird? It's
Yeah.
such a weird thing that as an addict in general, we're used to negativity.
It's
it's easier to
how we
deal with.
talk.
It's so interesting to me. And we have to also flip that switch.
Yeah.
And you have
Yeah.
to be more accepting to
Yep.
people's compliments, and you have to be accepting
Yeah.
that maybe you are doing something good.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not all bad. Maybe I didn't
Yeah.
always have to be a bad
Yeah.
person, and now I get to be a good one. I
Yeah.
don't know,
Yeah.
you know, but we just keep striving for that next best thing that is, I don't, the next best thing that I'm looking forward to is like just, you know, maybe one day being able to forget it, and not forget it in a sense where like it's just always, it's always in the background. It's always like
Okay.
knocking at the door, and I
Yeah.
just want to get to a point where like I'm aware of it,
Okay.
but it's
Yep.
not
Yep.
it's not causing
Yeah.
so much noise.
It's
Like
not rocking
right
the boat.
like right now with me, they just come out with all this new non-alcoholic shit.
Don't
Right?
do it. I did.
Oh no.
I tried it.
For me personally,
Yeah.
it's a bad deal.
Yeah.
Like
I
a
tried
drop of alcohol is a drop of alcohol. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's non-alcoholic
Yeah.
or not.
it. Yeah.
But even my wife the other day was like, "Oh, look, they came out with zero alcohol Guinness." And now Guinness was one of my favorite lagers. It was absolutely hands down the
Oh,
number
yeah.
one
Yeah.
one I would always go to. It was
Guinness
like
is a good one.
I would call it a meal in a can because I didn't have to eat. All I had to do was drink
Yeah.
this, and I was full.
Oh yeah.
And now I'm like, no, that's a bad deal. That's no good for me. But
Yeah.
again, banging at the door,
Right.
like,
right.
no, this is, you can't do this, and it's just
Right.
sitting there going, no, go ahead, give it a
Oh, yeah.
shot,
Yeah.
give it a shot.
Right.
And I'm like,
right.
Jesus Christ, still 6.5
Yep.
years later, you're
Yep.
like,
Always be there.
I had to verbally say no. But
Yep.
in my mind, I'm like, oh man, my wife's on board with this.
Yeah.
Woo!
We're looking for it. We're just like,
Yeah.
hey.
So I am looking forward to
Yeah.
the day where like it's just not banging as loud. And I don't know if that day is going to be when I'm finally like, it was 27 years
Right,
on.
right.
So is it going to be when I'm 27 years off? I finally, it
yeah.
may
I don't-
never go away, but it's like, sometimes I'm like, man, I just wish you would stop
Yeah.
banging at the door. You know,
Take it
I
easy today.
have you ever had anybody tell you that like, now opiates are different, so I don't know if you would have ever heard this, but like I used to have friends that would tell me like, you know, not that I don't have a problem, but like they'd be like, you're silly. It's not an addiction, it's just in your mind. You know what I mean? You ever heard that before?
So I'm gonna go a little bit nerdy real quick.
All right.
So I love the brain. I love how it ticks. I love the different parts of the brain because it's kind of like a puzzle. What's firing off? What's not firing off? But unfortunately, everybody's like, oh, addiction's not a disease. It's all mental.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you how it can fit into a disease. So dopamine essentially is my favorite neurotransmitter. It should be everybody's because it's like it's our pleasure. It's why we do what we do.
Yeah.
If we had no enjoyment, we would not do it. Guess what we really enjoyed? Guess what? Our brain remembers what we enjoyed, which is the substance, whatever that is for you. Released a big enough dopamine for you to be like, I want that, and our brain's like, I'm gonna remember that. And then it kind of solidifies with more behaviors that you do. So remember that caution tape road. That's what everything that you remember how to do.
Right.
So they had found that if they had released dopamine just in your frontal cortex, you don't become addicted. And our frontal cortex is very, important for us. It's where our morals, our rights, our wrongs, our values, everything sits right there. And so it was during like a rad experience where they're putting probes in their brain to be like, ooh, let's kind of see how this works. Anyway, so they had found that they pushed the probe too far and it just got into the frontal cortex and they were just pumping like whatever it was. And then he took it away. They didn't become addicted. They're just like, all right, whatever. We'll just walk away from it. But however, where dopamine sits with the VTA and in how it injects, it's through the midbrain. So the midbrain, which is, very important because it's our fight or flight. We have no control over the fight or flight.
Oh, okay.
So, like, if you're in a dangerous situation, our brain goes, I'm going to survive this, whatever that takes. I don't care. And what it'll do at that point, if your fight or flight takes over, it shuts down or minimally quiets down your frontal cortex. So all the values, all the morals, all the rights or wrongs. So that's when you hear like, why didn't they stop doing this? They face so many consequences, or why didn't they do this? Because literally their fight or flight kicks on, and then their frontal cortex goes, shh, like, we're gonna quiet, and I'm gonna do whatever I need to survive. And one of the biggest neurotransmitters that we need to survive is dopamine. It's literally why we get up in the morning. It's why we're doing certain things, from going to work to helping people to making coffee in the morning, whatever it is. And we have like a certain thresholds that we take in every day. So like a good day, like today, we're probably coasting like close to like where our set point is. And like anything more is kind of like going to Disneyland or like the best day of your life. And it can't get below that. It's kind of those days where you just like really don't want to get out of bed. You're feeling low. You're just like, I just don't care. But with substances, it kicks it way out of like into left field somewhere. And with continuous use, it keeps us up there. So our brain doesn't always want to be that happy. So our brain goes, all right, I don't know what's happening, but we need to start shutting down some gates in our synapse so that way we're not receiving so much dopamine. And it'll just do its job real quickly, go back. And so when you take a substance away from somebody, that means you're taking their source of dopamine.
Okay.
And so what then happens, our midbrain goes, yo, like, what is happening right now? I need that. And I'm going to do whatever I can to get it. And that's where you kind of see the behaviors. So, right. So the organ that is impacted by addiction is your midbrain.
Okay.
Right. And so there's a dysregulation of dopamine. And then we all see the symptoms, right? The stigmas are the symptoms. The lying, the cheating, the hiding, the doing whatever you do, just because they know that their substance of choice is going to give them that sort of dopamine fix. Now, there's definitely other neurotransmitters that are definitely impacted by it, for sure. But dopamine is definitely like that one that we're like holding on to, because of course, there's glutamate. Glutamate really, like kind of tracks like, oh, if I go down this road or if I see a certain thing, our glutamate's like, all right, let's get ready to experience whatever release it is, and then so on and so forth.
Really? So every time I was hiding my alcohol and just making sure that I always had it on me and maybe having it nearby and doing all those things, it was my midbrain going, I gotta prepare. We gotta prepare.
I gotta prepare. I know that I need to feel some sort of relief at some point in this day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You want to know another trick that I did for myself? And I don't recommend this if you can't.
Okay.
But what I did is when I was having a really, really hard time during lockdown, I started this podcast, to help with my sobriety. But the other thing that I did was I went to the liquor store and I bought one nip, and it's in a like skull looking glass, like you crack the top and it's like a skull or something, or maybe it's an alien. It's an alien, alien shaped shot. It's just a nip.
I don't know.
Right? No, I don't know what the brand is.
Okay.
But I bought it because it looked like an alien.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, this is I did not care what I drank. It did not.
It didn't matter.
It didn't matter at the end. So I was like, I'm gonna buy this, and I purchased it, and I had it in my hand, and I was like, okay, I got a nip of alcohol right here in my hand, and all of a sudden my brain went, and it relaxed. No, it relaxed, and I went, okay, I'm not drinking you.
Yes, yeah.
And I came home.
That's the thing.
And I put that nip in my bedroom, next to the old DVDs that I have no use for anymore, but I can't let go of them. Oh, man, I got a DJ Qbert one signed by Qbert. I will not get rid of it.
Oh, my Blu-rays.
And I put it right there. And it's been sitting there for 6.5 years because I know that at any moment in time, anytime, I can have a drink whenever I want.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, and for some reason, my brain still knows that that's there.
Yeah.
And it just never, I don't, even with all the cravings, all the ups and the downs and the walls that I've hit and all these things happening, I always tell myself, it's sitting right there if you want it, dude. Yeah. It's sitting right there. You want it? And I'm always like, no, I don't want it. Right. And I don't know what that is.
So remember kind of taking through like the little dopamine. Most people will tell you I had more pleasure setting everything up than the actual getting high.
So the ritual of things, in a sense.
Yeah.
And that's probably where my brain got comfortable, is that you bought it, it's in the house.
Probably.
And at any moment in time, we can break that thing open and have a party.
I literally have a Jameson nip that sits in my door. I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Really?
And yeah. So
see, here I am going, I'm the only fucking idiot out there doing this shit.
I know it's sitting in my door. I know it's there. And it's like, so for me, Christmas is really hard. Like holidays can be pretty hard.
Very hard.
And Christmas in particular.
Yes.
And just because I'm not around my brothers, not around my mom, dad, not around my grandparents, who sorry, Nana, I like to get you really drunk because you're funny. She starts pillow fights. So, like, and we just sit around the table, we play board games, and it's just a wholehearted feeling.
Wow.
And so, holidays are tough. And so I get really homesick. And this past, Christmas, unfortunately, I got some, really bad news. 2 people in my family went through very bad medical issues. And I was just like, well, Merry Christmas, guys. Yeah. And I was by myself. Sean went to bed, and I'm sitting there on the floor, and I'm just staring at the ceiling going, well, there's that Jameson just sitting right there in the fridge. I could just have it right now. But I'd found early in my recovery is that for some odd reason, I felt that if I had to like get it right away, that I never would experience an urge. But that almost messed me up. So because if I didn't say it or if I didn't speak it out and I just let it fester, that idea would just, continue to grow because, relapse doesn't happen right away.
No.
It's definitely like I was feeling some type of way on Christmas. If I kept it in and I didn't say anything, then now I'm going to mentally focus on it.
Right.
And then I'm probably going to end up, wherever I need to be. And then I had to say it. Like I have a group message. It's between my sister and another person that we work with. And I adore her. And I was like, I want to drink. And just put it out there. And I got so much support back. Like, talk to me, like, what's happening. And if I didn't start doing that early in recovery, I probably would just give right in. But I built those patterns and those behaviors to be able to do so.
Yeah.
So
wow, so important, important. And I usually say this all the time too, is that like lying leads to drinking.
Oh, 100%.
And it's not lying to other people. It's lying to yourself.
Yes.
Lying to yourself
absolutely.
is what leads you back to drinking because you suppress those feelings. You don't tell anybody about them. And then you get on that slow road back to relapsing.
Absolutely.
And that's how it happens.
Absolutely.
And just so to hear you say that you're kind of doing the same thing that I am is really relieving.
I keep forgetting it. And then like for some odd reasons, and it's always when I'm like in times I'm like really upset or something emotionally is happening, is then my brain's like, oh, remember that thing that's sitting in the drawer? It's in a green little bottle. And Jameson I loved whiskey. I loved dark rum.
Those are my favorites.
Oh, it's my
brown liquor.
When I used to do modeling back in the day, I have a whole photo shoot with Jameson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I swear to God.
Wow.
So like, it's my thing. And so it just sits there. I don't know how it got there, but it's there now. And it's always like, it's always when I'm having a hard time.
Yeah.
Or I'm just like, oh yeah, remember that thing. Otherwise, I don't give a shit. It doesn't even register in my brain. And most people are just like, oh, why is it still there? I don't know, because I forget I have it, and then I remember when like I'm experiencing something really messed up. So yeah, just
it's just there to ease the brain, because if
yeah, I don't know.
for me personally, if it wasn't there, the
Mhm.
urge to go buy something would increase. And the
Yeah,
simple fact that like it's there means I don't have to go out and buy anything. I can do it if I wanted to, but I just keep choosing not to.
we also have things like drizzling now. Where they just
Huh?
drizzly.
What is that?
It is.
What?
They drop liquor off at your house. It's like a DoorDash for liquor.
Oh, yeah, I forgot they did that.
Yeah.
It used to be illegal, but because of lockdowns, they changed that and they never turned back.
Oh God, no! It's too
Yeah.
much of it's a money grab.
It's a huge money grab.
It's like when restaurants were like, "Yeah, we'll make you a mixed drink and send it to your house." I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
insane.
Yeah, when they first started doing that, I was like, we can order something to eat and get a bottle dropped off at the same time? I'm like, what?
Where was this when I was fucking drinking?
Yeah, exactly.
I would never have to
So-
leave.
So you're dealing with all the recovery stuff.
Yeah.
You're let's just turn it back, right?
Okay.
Turn it
All right.
back. And
Rewind.
what when you first started doing that, when did you start, like when you quit drinking
Mhm.
and you quit the opiates, was that holding you back from losing weight? Was it holding you back from being able to transform yourself into the person that you wanted to look at or wanted to be?
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. So I have a personal trainer who I absolutely adore. So I meet him on every single Monday. And he, I always say he's my professional counter because like I suck at counting. I'm like, Mike, the fuck? What number am I at? He goes, I don't know. I said, I pay you to count. So I've been working with him for about the same amount of time that I've been sober.
Okay.
So it's kind of also like therapy for me because I sit there and we talk about like conspiracy theories and stuff like that while we're working out and
Oh, cool.
whatever is happening that week. I don't know. And so I really started getting into like training, but I'd found for me, I was saying more positive things like, look at that weight you just lifted, or look, you're still waking up in the morning when you just want to sleep in, or you're still going to personal training and you're kicking ass, or when I'm eating, like just being more mindful, like what are my portion sizes, what do I actually like taste when I eat food? Because oftentimes, and you're going to notice this now, go out to a restaurant, watch somebody eat, and maybe you may do this unconsciously, but as soon as you like put the food in your mouth, you're already going back down to put more food on your fork just to shovel it back in. So you're not even taking that time or their breath to be like, oh, okay, this actually does taste good. Maybe they add a little bit too much salt. I don't know. And then every morning when I get ready, I will stand in front of my mirror naked and just appreciate and get comfortable with seeing myself. And that was kind of even more of a shift. And having more of I do actually have a really nice body. And I'm not that big. And I don't stare at it and like kind of like pinch myself. No, I'm just like, look at that. This is going away. That's going away. These are the improvements that I'm doing. And from there, at some point in this, like it was slowly dropping down, and I think I hit, I want to say like 170, and from there it just I just melted right off, and now
wow, okay.
it was just insane. And I wouldn't step on the scale every week. I would do measurements, so once a month I would do measurements, step on the scale. That's it. Don't even look at it anymore, because then you're going to start releasing all these hormones in your body and stress and all that kind of stuff. So do what you got to do. Every 11th of the month, I would stand on the scale, do all of my measurements, put it back away, roll everything back up, walk away from it. And it would just keep doing whatever I was doing. So now I'm in the habit of just waking up in the morning to work out now. So Mondays, usually I meet with Mike, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm at the gym in the morning because I want to do age group, I'm probably going to add in like some Saturdays, and I want to try to add in yoga in the evening. I gotta do something that's more like kind of slow based. And in that time, it's now like, okay, what am I eating during the day? Be mindful. Like, am I eating my fruit? Am I drinking enough water? Which I'm doing a terrible job this past like 2 weeks. Not even gonna lie. Not even gonna lie. Am I getting like, what types of proteins am I actually eating? What is it cooked in? And just kind of being more aware of that. Like, I had somebody ask me, and they're just like, oh my God, what diet did you follow? And I go, I didn't. And they're just like, what? And I'm like, yeah, no, I didn't. I'm just mindful. I'd like, if I wanted a slice of cake, bet your damn ass I'm gonna eat a slice of cake.
Yeah.
If I wanted a cookie, I'm gonna eat the fuck out that cookie. And that was okay. Food shouldn't be looked at as a punishment. This is a lifestyle change. This is how you're going to eat. How are you fueling your body day to day?
Right.
Eating junk every once in a while is not like, I love mac and cheese. I am literally a 2-year-old child. You put like a pan of Kraft mac and cheese in front, I bet you I'll eat it all.
Yeah.
I just love mac and cheese. But I don't punish myself for it. I enjoy the shit out of it. And that is okay.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that at all. I do the same thing. I eat pretty regularly.
Yep.
I eat the same things almost every single day, but every now and then I treat myself to a sandwich. I do this, I do that.
Yeah.
I go to my in-laws, and they do not cook the way I eat.
Yeah.
But I don't punish myself and not eat.
Like, if I want to eat it,
I just eat it.
Yeah.
But it really depends on what you're doing on the day-to-day basis, because if you're doing that every day, then no, that's not good for you.
Yeah.
But if you're just having it now and then, it's really not as bad as it's all made out to be.
No,
it's just it's all in how often you do it, which is you don't indulging. You don't want to indulge too much.
Yeah. I mean, it's even like, if people are watching TV, what do? They tend to eat while they're watching TV, and you consider, well, it's called mindlessly eating, because you're not being mindful. You're just shoving food in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
You're not like, am I full? Am I not full? I even like, what size plate am I eating on? Because like the big plate, like that wasn't meant for food. That was meant to like put your other food on. So I eat on a smaller dish, or I do kind of the palm rule. Like, am I eating enough vegetables? Like the vegetables, carbs, and protein. If I'm out and about, if I go to a restaurant, I cut my food right in half. I don't have to eat all of it, unless I go to Applebee's and they have that skillet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna eat the fuck out of all that. I mean, it's just like, it's literally on like a good size. Like, I look at it, I'm like, that looks pretty portioned.
Right.
And so I'll eat it all. And then I get a side of green beans, because again, I'm like a child.
No, well, but people are weird. They're like, they see you eating a portion.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, why are you starving yourself? And it's like, I'm not. I'm eating an actual portion.
I know.
I get it. Did you know that a portion is only supposed to be 8 ounces, not a fucking pound?
No. Oh my God. My mother-in-law is Italian, and so she's like, eat everything. And over the summer, she had a beach house, and she goes, oh, let's have chicken shrimp Alfredo.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, no problem. So had a salad and then had pasta, but I had it in a bowl. And I ate the bowl, and she goes, are you hungry? I said, no, I just ate. She goes, you didn't eat enough. I said, no, I did. She goes, you sure you don't want more?
Yeah.
No, I'm good. I'm full. And then Sean goes, Ma, that's why she's losing weight, and we're gaining all of it because we don't know when to stop eating. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And from there, I think she came over, I want to say last week, and she looked at me and she goes, are you like done losing weight now? Like, don't you think you're like gonna get too skinny? And I'm like, skinny shaming is a thing. Like, I feel healthy. I'm doing good. I'm doing what I'm supposed to. I don't not eat.
Right.
I do not eat. I love food. So
you're just mindful of what you're putting into your body, and that's the difference.
Right.
There is no magical pill. There's no specific diet. It's just you're mindful of what you're putting in your body.
Yeah.
And that, at the end of the day, is the most powerful tool you can use to either lose or, in my case, try to gain weight. because I'm on the
Yeah.
opposite spectrum
like,
of
yeah.
everybody else. Everybody
right.
everybody I know is always on the side of losing weight and trying to get down in size.
Right.
I've
right.
been 125 pounds since high school.
Okay.
It wasn't until
I should have gave you all my
Yeah.
extra weight. Like, here's 70 pounds.
it wasn't until probably about 8 or 9 years ago when
Yeah.
I finally got up to 140.
Okay.
And just over the last 3 weeks, I finally broke 160.
Right.
And
Right.
it's taken me forever because I'm mentally, I don't like to eat because I'm afraid of gaining weight.
Okay.
So when I start to see my cheeks puff out,
Yeah,
or if
yeah,
I
yeah,
start
yeah,
to
yeah,
lose the look of the six pack,
Yeah.
I panic
Yeah.
and I
yeah,
literally
yeah.
stop eating.
Okay.
I don't know what that is. I don't know why
Fear?
my brain works that way, but I
Fear?
literally panic.
Yep.
And what I've taught myself is that unfortunately for me, I have to continuously eat. I
Yep.
have to always be shoving food in my face
Right.
because if you're not eating, you're just going to
Yeah.
lose and burn through everything. Your
Yeah.
metabolism,
Yep.
there's no slowing
Yep.
it down as you get older. Your metabolism is your metabolism. That's
Yeah.
the funny thing about a metabolism is that the simple fact that people are like, oh, it's going to slow down when you hit this age. That's actually a little bit of a myth. It's not going to just stop.
Things are so like at the age of 25, your body stops storing certain vitamins.
Right.
And like it's peaked. It's like, all right, I stored all the vitamins I have to. So essentially, if like you don't get whatever vitamin that you need for that day, your body pulls from the storage.
Right.
So I wonder if that's what they probably.
I don't know, but a lot of people say that, like, don't worry about it. When you hit 40 something, your metabolism is going to slow down. You're going to gain all the weight you're looking for. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. Your metabolism is your metabolism your entire life. It just depends on what you're doing.
Exactly.
If you slow down,
right,
well, then your metabolism will slow down with you.
Right.
It can.
Right.
You can actually kind of manipulate your metabolism.
Right.
And most people at my age have kids, and all they're doing is working and taking care of their kids, which causes them to slow down.
Right.
They're eating, they're hanging out, they're having fun with the kids, and now because you've slowed down, now you're gaining weight because now your metabolism is slowed down, but it slowing down on its own is not going to happen if you're still active, moving, and doing all certain things.
Right.
Mine just has always been on high, and it just will never go away. So I do notice that if I don't do my normal, now my normal intake is about 3,000 to 3,200 calories a day. I just eat from the time I wake up until the time I go to the bed, and that's it. And as long as I'm doing that, I'm getting all the calories I need. They're good calories. I take all my supplements. I do all this stuff. I'm doing creatine now. I've been doing that for about 3-4 months. That has helped with my gain weight.
Okay.
So I've been doing all these little different things to counteract my metabolism in a sense.
Right.
I'm still being active. I'm still doing everything, but the difference is I'm eating way more. So it's not that my metabolism is slowed down and now I can all of a sudden gain weight.
You just do more,
It's just that I'm stuffing more in my face. So it's not burning through it as fast, which is allowing my body to absorb it and keep it.
Right.
So, but that myth is out there and everybody believes it. And it's like, well, it's not true. It just depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it. And for you, it wasn't about a diet or a specific way of doing things or these races that made you or helped you lose this weight. It's the simple fact that you did portions and you still are eating and you're still doing these things, but you've learned to work with what you have.
Right.
And that is the most important step of any type of gain or losing weight.
Right.
Is understanding yourself. It's just like when you're an addict and you need to finally be happy with yourself.
Yeah.
It's a hard hurdle to get over.
Right.
But once you get over it, it's so easy to look at it and go, oh shit. Is that what it was?
Is that all?
Is that it?
I just had to love myself.
Yeah.
Oh God.
You know, and but it's a lot harder than it turns out to be. You know, and I think that's the basic gist of all of this is that none of it's easy.
No.
and
No.
you have to communicate.
Right.
Yeah, that's like I tell myself all the time now. However I'm feeling,
Right.
just let it be known.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's good
Yeah.
or if it's bad or
Right.
if I think I'm wrong or if I think I'm right. You
Right.
just you gotta get it out.
Right.
Because if I
Right.
sit on it and I hold on to it,
Right.
like the other day I was in jujitsu and I went to go give somebody a hug.
Right.
And he put his hand out and he like put it out and stopped me. And I was in my head for days. And I ended up texting him. And I go, dude, what was up?
Right.
He called me. He's like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, there was nothing wrong, man. We were just in a moment and I didn't even realize I did it to you. But in my brain,
Yeah.
I was
mad
like,
at me.
he's mad at me. We got problems.
Yeah.
He didn't want to give me a hug.
Yeah.
All I needed was a hug. You know what I mean?
Catastrophize everything.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, he's like, you're such a weirdo. We're fine.
Yeah.
And next time that happens, just look at me
Yeah.
and be like, motherfucker, don't you push me away. Give me a hug. And I go, okay. I didn't think I could speak to you like that. And he's like, why? You know what I mean?
Right.
Why would you think that way?
Yeah.
And I go, I don't know. I
Fear.
don't know because
Yep.
I'm still in here.
Yeah.
But I've learned that if I don't let it out,
Right. Right.
then I'm going to sit and it's going to fester
Oh,
and it could
it's terrible.
ruin
Terrible.
everything.
Absolutely. 100%.
So-
100%. So I definitely, oh my God. It's, so the group chat I was talking to you about, when the girls, her name is Lindsay, and she'll just say it. She's like, I'll pray about it later. Or like, she'll say something like cheesy like that, but she just says it. And she'll be like, I'll ask for forgiveness, or like just some random stranger. She just word vomit. And I love her for it. I absolutely love her for it, because you're right. If I hold it in, I let it fester.
Mhm.
And with my sick way of thinking, I'm going to take that and then put it into something that it has no business being in, or I'm going to assume the worst, because that's the thing is, we project as human nature. Like, we project of how a person's going to react, what they're thinking, and the reality is, what's the worst thing that's really actually happening?
Mm-hmm.
They had a bad day. Okay. Or they were thinking about something. So I'm totally that person that reads like one book I really enjoy and actually teach kind of the patients about is Atomic Habits. Have you read that?
No, I do not read books. Is it an
What?
audio book?
There is.
Okay.
There is. Okay, don't worry.
Then I will look this up and
Okay.
I will get the audio
Okay.
book.
It's by James Clear. I'm like, you put a book in front of me, that's it. It's on like Donkey Kong. I don't care. I want a library in my house.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm just an avid reader.
If I want to take a nap, I'll start reading.
Okay, well, there you go.
It's
just-
unfortunate for me. I'm just not a book guy. I'm just not.
You just haven't found your book.
Yeah.
We
I've
all
been
have that
trying-
book.
I've been trying for a long time. Although I listen to audiobooks like they're going out of style. I love audiobooks.
That's a good one then. That's a good one. So Atomic Habits, he essentially in the book, it says, if you just be 1% better. And that, instead of saying, I want to be this, like, I am that. And how do you change like certain cues in your life to be who you actually are striving to be?
Yeah.
Like, if I want to work out or get into the habit of working out, what am I doing to preemptively get into that thought process?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just getting a little bit more out of your comfort zone. Because, as Les Brown says, like, you have to keep getting uncomfortable, because, on your deathbed, all of your, like, who you are and the things that your dreams, desires, like your passions, they're going to be staring at you on your deathbed.
Mhm.
And like, I gave you an option. I gave you a chance. You didn't take it. You settled. And that's my biggest fear is getting to a point where I'm going to settle, and I refuse to.
I like that.
My life, I have been told I would never amount to anything. And I would just say, bet, because I will. And I will keep pushing. So keep doubting and I will keep pushing.
Yes.
And there's, a few people that I'm very close to, and they know my ins and outs. And they are in my corner, and that's all I need.
Yeah. No, I
Because
agree with that.
at the end of the day, I have to be true to myself. I have to be honest with myself. And if I want to succeed or be anything, I just have to keep pushing. And you're going to hear no. You're going to hear no. You're going to hit those walls. And it's not, you don't fail until you you just stop.
Right.
That's when you fail.
That's when you fail.
That's when you
100%.
fail.
Yep.
Yeah. So I refuse to do that. And I'll just always keep pushing forward, even on days where you're just like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
But if you just even make a little bit of step, just one step, just even if it's a baby toe, you're still trying to push forward. And that's what matters.
Yes.
And so, I chalk it up to the people who I have in my life, the people who I've met. I've met in recovery some really amazing people.
Yeah.
I've gotten eat the chicken, spit out the bones. I say that a lot because it's true. Take what you can. I got that from my friend Eddie. Solid dude. He's funny guy. He's also in recovery. He actually is a part of a facility. He's like a BD rep, but he also did a podcast for a while. I don't know if he still does it. He was actually supposed to give me some hints and details of how to do one. I've met people like Mark Lundholm. He's also in recovery. He's actually a stand-up comedian. Solid guy. I'm really jealous because he knows a gentleman, Gabor Mate, who's also a doctor in addiction. He's essentially like the why guy. He's like, why we do, I told you I read a lot. His book was recommended to me by my old clinical director, who I absolutely adored. She was absolutely fantastic. She said, read a book called In the Realms of Hungry Ghost. And I did. Like, the first part of the book is really sad because, like, you just see all these stories and you read all these stories of these addicts and what they go through and all the trauma. And you're just like, golly. Man. And you try to like do that compare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Always get stuck and like, oh God, well, I don't have it as bad as that person. And
Yes.
but the reality is like it's your life.
Yeah.
Another person doesn't have your life.
Nope, they don't. And we don't have each other's struggles.
Right.
But everybody struggles.
Right.
Everybody goes through something. And here's the one thing. The worst thing that's ever happened in your life is the worst thing that's ever happened in your life.
Right.
But for a young kid, it's not getting a candy bar. And for other people, it could be somebody died, or it could be you didn't win the raffle. You know what I mean? It's what is the is the worst thing that's ever happened in your life is totally different from person to person. It's how you perceive it being the worst.
Right.
But that's something that really stuck with me. I heard it probably on Rogan, but it's just it just always stuck with me. You're right. So it could get better because literally whatever I feel is the worst thing that happened in my life was the worst. Yeah. And it hasn't gotten any worse than that.
Yeah. I mean, our environments shape us, and, I tell people this all the time is I can tell you my story through my addiction, everything that I went through, all the trauma that I've experienced, the fact that I did not have, my home wasn't safe, even going to school wasn't safe, none of that, and kind of take you through, continue on to like the point that I am at now. And my story will be different, but the pain is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
The suffering is still the same. That, oh my God, I felt that too. That is still the same. And that is why we are alike.
Yeah.
In that sense, is that we both went through that struggle. We both felt that pain. We both continue to push through. And when you see somebody who's new and fresh in sobriety, they're just like, I'll never be able to do this. Right. This is hard. This is difficult. And you hear people who have, whatever length of time, like I said, my sister has 5 years, you have 6 years. I know somebody is 20 years, like, and so on and so forth. And you hear all of it and you're just like, oh my God, I want what you have. Well, guess what? You have to take it a day at a time.
Yeah.
Like you that's all you have. And so what are you doing today for your recovery? And you tell that to somebody in the beginning, they're just like, oh my God, this is too hard. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to throw my hands up and turn around and walk out.
Yeah. And one thing to piggyback off of that, relapse is not failure.
No.
It's not the end.
No.
It's just, it happens.
Yeah.
I can't even count how many times.
Oh, I've realized a lot.
A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not easy. It's not fun.
No.
And it is devastating when you, because in your mind, you're like, I just fucking can't, or I failed.
Right.
And you didn't. It's just, now you got to just start again. Yeah. And you got to do it again. And you got to keep doing it until you get to the point where you're staying with it.
Right. Right.
And everybody's journey is different.
Right. Right. And it's definitely one of those things where like you meet like people from AA. You have diehard AA people.
Yeah, you
like
do.
you will die if you don't do AA.
Yes.
Well, I don't.
I don't either.
I don't.
I couldn't get past the God thing. So for me.
Yeah, that's fair. And some people can't. I mean, that's why you have like Dharma recovery, you have smart recovery, and in the end is still the same, is recovery. No matter which one you do, does not matter. And so even in experiences like that, guess what? Eat the chicken, spit out the bones. They're still teaching you something.
Right.
And you still have that, however many years, months that you did prior to your relapse. But guess what? Eat the chicken, spit out the bones. What did you eat? Right?
Yep.
What did you learn? And continue to move forward.
Right.
Okay, well, maybe I should have communicated like this, or maybe I should have reached out to this. And I can give you 10 million coping skills. But if I say, hey, you want to go try to do this, and you say, I don't like that. Well, guess what? Don't tell me it's a coping skill, especially if you don't like to use it.
Right.
And learning what fits you. Like for me, my downtime, I read. You don't like to read. Guess what? I would not recommend reading then.
Right.
So it's just each person, different things.
That's it.
That's all it is.
That's it. It really is. Yeah. It's crazy to think about, but I've just heard of so many people being like, oh, I tried and I fell off again, and it's just, it's the end. It's over. I can't do it. And it's like, no, you can, and just keep please moving forward. And that's what this is all about. And, I have learned that starting this podcast and doing what we're doing right now has been the most helpful for me over AA, over all the recovery programs and the lockups and the MOP program, all of that stuff combined. This has helped me more than anything, is having this nice one-on-one and being able to share it. And it's like, I have people tell me all the, oh man, I watch your pod. I'm like, you do? Oh, wow.
Hi.
And it's like, you really helping me. And like, just little things like that. Like a couple weeks ago, I was a little bit down on myself. I had that rainy cloud over me and I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to do anything. And then I went to class and I had a guy come up from MMA to go do no-gi. And he was like, dude, tell me what's going on this week. I can't wait to hear it. And I'm like, I don't have anything recorded.
Uh-oh.
And he was like, well, I'm looking forward to it, whatever you're doing. I can't wait to hear the new episode. And I went home and I recorded an episode because I was like, holy shit. It just, it changed everything, because I don't see that in the numbers, and I'm looking at the numbers and I'm paying attention to all the big guys and I'm paying attention to all this shit. And it just made me rethink that, like, yes, this was for me in the beginning, but now it's become a little bit more than that. And why would I, not do something because of my mood when this is doing something for somebody else as well?
Absolutely.
And so just hearing that changed my whole train of thought that day and put me in a better mood, because I'm like, well, according to the numbers, there's only 9 people watching. You know what I mean? So, but that's where I go. It's just like sitting and festering about my friend pushing me away. I'm in my own head. I'm playing my own game now. And it's like, once you get it out and you realize that you're just being silly in a sense, that's what changes everything for me nowadays. It's just like, wow, this is something different, and it's not just for me. And it's like, get out of your own way, dude. Get out of your own fucking way, would you? And just sit down, do the work, and continue doing what you're doing, because everybody says that you're doing a great job. So accept the fact that you're doing a good job, and just keep doing it.
Yeah, honestly, you don't, and it's one of those things is you can't control if you're a role model or not, or you can't control if somebody looks up to you or not.
Yeah.
They're going to still look up to you regardless. And are you going to be the person that you needed to look up to, or you're just, what are you going to do? You're going to sit in your shit?
Right.
And then who does that really help? Because it's not going to help you.
No. And for all the people out there that are like, oh, I've only been doing this for 2 months, I want what you want, and I'm never going to get to 6 years and this and that, or 2 years or whatever it is. You will one day.
Yep.
As long as you keep putting your feet in front of each other and moving forward, that's going to happen. I didn't become a purple belt overnight.
No.
I didn't get 6.5 years separated from alcohol overnight.
Nope.
Took 6.5 years.
Yeah.
It took 7 years to get a purple belt. So just like martial arts and anything, your Spartan runs, those must be so much easier for you today.
Oh my God, I can actually do the monkey bars now. So.
See,
like, I still struggle with the rope climb, but you know what? It's a lot better from where I started.
But you have to, but you also have to be like, holy shit, like mentally, physically, and emotionally, you are better at those races now. You're better at all the obstacles. You're better at everything else, because you went through all the hard shit. You still went and did all that stuff. But now you go and do it, and you're in a different mindset, and it just makes it a little bit easier. You know?
I literally said after I finished the Smutty Nose, the half marathon, I was like, I'll never do this, is so stupid. And now I'm sitting here and go like, all right, so I'm gonna go do that race again.
So real fun before we get out of here, because I'm curious.
Yeah.
The thick mutter.
Tough Mudder?
Tough Mudder.
Yes.
That's what it is. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That one, I've heard really good things about it. Obviously, Brendan Schaub is involved in some of those, and he advertised. He was advertising them for a while. I don't think he's talking with Mark Harley anymore. But how was that? Because I noticed that you did a shit ton of Spartans, but there was one Tough Mudder.
So I've done the Bone Frog, I've done the Tough Mudder, I've done the Savage Race. The Savage Race by far is probably my favorite.
Interesting.
I mean, the obstacles are different. The volunteers are amazing. It's just a really good environment. Spartan races are good in the sense of like, yes, it's an obstacle course race, but like the obstacles are the same through and through. Like there may be one or two that I've never seen before, but they're always the same. Did I say the Tough Mudder?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I did the terrain. I've done the Muckfest, and I want to say something else, and I can't. Or I think my niece wants to do one this year, so we're gonna have her do one.
Wow.
But yeah, so majority of Spartan, just because they're just more regular. And then I've done the Savage Race every single year.
Interesting.
Since I started. Yeah.
Because the Tough Mudder has got it's the only one that I know of that has like the electricity shit that you have to go through.
Listen.
How is that?
Okay. So the first year I ever did a Tough Mudder, I did the full. Like, it was like 13 miles.
Yeah, they're big.
So you go through electricity twice if you do the half. Or
okay.
Like, they consider it the full, but it's a half marathon essentially. And I remember that you crawl and they have like little tentacles.
Yes.
And it's just kind of like a little quick boop shot.
Okay.
But you're like crawling through water, and the girl in front of me, for some odd reason, got spooked and she stopped.
Oh.
And one of the little tentacle things was right on my temple, and it zapped right at that, and then zapped again on my ass, and I was just like, listen, lady, you gotta move. This thing is like going off every 30 seconds, and you're stopped.
That's so fucking crazy.
I was so mad. And then at the end, you go through like where you run through it.
Oh, okay.
And I remember there was a photographer sitting there, and that one sucks. That one sucks. Because
you're just getting zapped everywhere?
That is like a more powerful one versus the one that I just crawled through. That one was like rated G. Okay.
Oh.
And the guy who was taking the photos at the end just was laughing the entire time I was going through, because I got shocked once. I was just like, all right, I'm gonna like speed through this really quickly, and I didn't. And one of them, like, it was powerful enough for me to kind of like black out for a second, and then kept on running. And the guy was like, man, I should have really just had a swear jar at the end of this, because everybody's just cursing.
Oh, I believe it.
Oh my god, it was. Ugh. So the second time I did that, I did the Tough Mudder. They did not have the electricity, and
Oh, really?
I
Interesting.
don't know why, but it was the first time. It could have been because I didn't do the full. I only did like the half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they ran into any problems with that shit. You know what I mean?
So they ended up actually getting bought out by Spartan. They were actually going under.
Tough Mudder was going under?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, so the whole, if you think about it, the O.C.R. scene, like the obstacle course scene, it's not as big as it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's still big. Like, you have people like me who will always do the races. I will always do the races, no matter what, just because it's something that just will continuously make me uncomfortable, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But when they first came out, everybody wanted to do them. Everybody wanted to do them. And then, like, things like the Bone Frog actually went out of business as well, and I think they have one more race, which is really depressing, because I really loved that race. I did that one, I want to say like 2 years ago. The only reason why I didn't do it last year is because unfortunate circumstances, as we kind of discussed earlier. So I was just like, all right, I physically can't do it.
Right.
Because at one point in that race, they're just like, we're going to have you swim across this pond. And it's the beginning of May.
Oh.
That pond is like 40 effing degrees.
Yeah.
This race is made by a Navy SEAL. And I was just like, this is a terrible idea, but I'm going to do it. And I did it. And I remember getting out of that water going, I can't breathe.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
And it was raining that day. Every time I've done a race,
it's raining?
It's raining. For some silly reason, I just take the rain with me.
Oh, well.
I think it was just past year that it didn't rain.
Oh, really?
Like typical. And I was like, oh, thank God. Maybe it isn't me. Maybe it's just
the weather.
It's just the weather.
It's just the weather. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
So Tough Mudder got bought out by Spartan?
Yes. Yeah.
Huh. And maybe they just eliminated the electricity.
I don't think so.
No?
I think it was just one of those things where, like, Joe DeSanto just wants to, his whole theory was to get people off the couch. Like, we live such a sedentary lifestyle. We're not meant to live sedentary lifestyles. And so if people actually stand up for long periods of time, with being in a sedentary lifestyle, they're like, oh, it's painful. Well, our body adapts.
Yeah.
So if we're sitting down and our hip flexors aren't being used, our hip flexors will start to shorten. And it's just like, all right, well, we're just not being used. We're not being active.
Right.
And so that's why they say every hour, like, get up, walk around, move, because we aren't meant for this.
Right.
Even with like Nike shoes and Nike running shoes, there's a book called Born to Run. And even in that, there's like, we're not meant to have all that cushion. It actually hurts our knees. It off balances everything.
They actually do say that the way that the running shoes and the shoes in general today, the way that they're designed, they're meant for heel striking. And we are not supposed to be heel striking. We are supposed to be running on the balls of our feet.
Yep.
You're actually supposed to be almost tiptoeing.
Well, think about all of our ancestors too, right? So like, they're cavemen. They never had shoes, but they ran the most.
Yep.
Most of my shoes, like, I'll wear like Vans, Converse, I love Keds. I love my Keds. But like, if I dress up, like, I do wear heels. Whoops. But for the most time, like, even if I go to the gym, I'll wear flats. Like, I'll probably wear my Vans. I like Merrell's too.
Yeah, flat shoes are the best. I have the Under Armours that have like no sole. I've got I like anything that allows my toes to spread out in the shoe.
Yep.
Very important.
Good toe box.
Minimal cushion.
Yep.
It just allows your foot to do what it's supposed to.
Right.
Instead of being constricted. And when I got into running a couple years ago, and I've fallen out of love for it and time, but I would I bought a pair of running shoes that had like no cushion to them. And I always made sure I was running on my tiptoes, on the balls of my feet instead.
Who's that? Who does the Boston Marathon in Crocs?
Oh, I have no idea.
Or there's another person who runs barefoot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm like, God bless you. I don't run I hate running on cement. It hurts my knees too much, and I get shin splints.
Yeah. Definitely shin splints. And to run around Boston with no shoes on, that's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, I want to say it was Boston. I think he did Boston barefoot. Probably. I'll have to look into it, but I'm pretty sure.
But I do the same thing on my treadmill, and then like the knees over toes guy. He's amazing. I don't know if you have ever heard or seen of it.
I don't think so.
I can't remember his name, but you can just look up knees over toes on Instagram.
Okay.
And he's got all kinds of workouts that where you're actually putting your knees over your toes, which they tell you is bad. And what he's showing you is actually really good for you because it strengthens all the muscles that we don't use in our knees and in our shins and our up in our thighs and stuff.
Yep. Quads.
All of those muscles and tendons and stuff. If you strengthen those, you won't like blow out your knee. Because the way we walk, the way we do things is actually kind of incorrect. And there's a lot of parts of the body in our legs that we don't utilize because of the way we walk and do things today.
Yep.
So if you do things like he recommends like walking backwards, pulling a sled backwards, doing things like that, which is going to strengthen a lot of the stuff because we always walk forward.
No, I was thinking there's like a special like animal movements.
Mm-hmm.
So people are into that.
Yeah.
So that's what it made me think of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this guy is absolutely amazing. Rogan started talking about him probably like 3-4 years ago. The guy's been around before that.
Right.
And I think within the last year or two, he's gained super popularity because of the simple fact that people are realizing that he's not just blowing smoke. This is actually true, and it's working for a lot of people. Like he's gotten people that couldn't dunk a basketball to dunk a basketball because they built up all the parts that you need to be able to do that.
Right.
He's big into basketball, so he helps a lot of famous basketball players as well.
I wonder what he would say about my ankle mobility.
I don't know, but he's got a lot of cool things that you can like do at home and stuff, and a lot of free stuff on Instagram that you could replicate and use as your own, and it would help with your running.
I gotta.
It's very cool.
I have to make my 5K like fast. I had to run like at least like an 8-minute mile. I'm like, oh geez.
8 minute. My God. Even when I was running, I couldn't get my mile under 10.
That's what it takes to be to at least run a Spartan age group. So.
Oh really? 10 per mile?
Well, I think it's 9.
Okay, I was gonna say
I want to be like 8. Why? Because like if I'm gonna go big, I'm going big. So that's awesome. That's it. So that's cool. I gotta look at all like the 5Ks in my area, and I'm just like, oh God, like I gotta get out. That's the thing. It's a mindset. Like for some odd reason, I've gotten to the mindset that I'm just like, oh, 5Ks. Blah.
Yeah.
But that's gonna mess me up. That's gonna mess me up, and I gotta get out of that.
Yeah, but it's difficult. It's
mental.
Yeah.
It's mental.
You got to keep convincing yourself. It's like David Goggins says, I'll sit down and I'll look at my running shoes for a half an hour and then just tell myself it's time to go. And he puts them on and he goes running. And that guy is, I mean, he's an animal. I am nothing like David Goggins, but the stuff that he says and tells you and yells about, it's so true. We all just kind of get in our own way. And when we tell ourselves something, that's probably what's going to happen. If you tell yourself you can't, you won't. If you tell yourself you can, you will.
Yeah, I get that, and especially it's, how are you saying with yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just like, oh, I can't fucking do that, and you believe it. You just feel like, I can't do it, and I see it. So on the Savage race, it's a race. There's an obstacle called the Colossus, and you see it. It's like an inverted ramp. It's like 30-40 feet up in the air, and you have to like run really fast, get up there, grab the ledge. And I usually like my knees are typically all banged up afterwards, and you see it. You see this whole line of people right before the offset, and they're just standing there like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm like, so are you guys going to go? Like, I can wait. Because what they're doing is they're already telling themselves that they can't do it.
Yeah, 100%.
They're already saying, I can't do this. Why even bother? So I remember it was this past year. I did the obstacle. I was just like, hey, man, can I go? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So I went. I got on top. And there was one girl left. And like you could see like her going back and forth. Like, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I not do this? I can't do this. And so she gets up. She gets right to the lip. It's me and two other gentlemen. And the guys are just like, grab my hand. And I could tell you the instant she got into her own head, because as soon as she says, I don't have this, she started to slip. And I was just like, no, look at me. I said, you can do this. Repeat after me. You can do this. You can do this. And sure enough, she goes, I can do this. And all of a sudden, she got over that lip.
Nice.
And it's just definitely one of those things where your brain's like, all right, give up.
Yeah.
And you do. You follow suit. You're like, all right, well, my brain said to do it. Well, guess what? Tell your brain to shut up. That's what I call my inner bitch voice.
Exactly.
Shut up.
100%.
Don't be a bitch. Like, go to bed.
No, I love it. What a great message. And what an incredible story. You know, it's just, I love this so much. Just people going through major life struggles and just coming out on the other side a stronger, better person. And you definitely have shown that today. Absolutely amazing, Ashley. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I greatly appreciate all of this. And on that note, everybody, I hope you enjoy your Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And as always, I will talk to you later.